Figures it out. He'll start. This is Organ Trackers. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is
Open
the
it
Organ
up.
I'm trying to, Ed. Shut up. Okay, anyways, yeah, this is the Organ Trackers. Dave and Ed disclaimers. Basically, on both the Organ Trackers YouTube channel and the Revolution News and Information channel. Today's date is 5/18/2017. Well, come on. Let's go in the future. All right, 5/8/2017. And basically, we'll let you take it off.
Okay. Hey, thank you all. This is Ed. Thank you for joining us. We are not attorneys. We are not lawyers. We are just average, lawful, bloodline Americans that have a concept of reality compared to fictitious information that is given out to the people that sometimes get themselves in trouble because they don't know how to do this. People want to give you information, and most of the part they want to sell you. And, hello? Yeah, mute him while he's sitting there blowing his nose.
Muted.
Don't want to hear that. So anyhow, we want to thank you for joining us. Like I said, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers, we're not attorneys, we're nobodies, basically, when it comes down to it. We're men who comprehend the reality of the United States for the United States of we the people. We are not a colony. We are not a destination of the British government. We never will be, and we better not be, because if that ever happens, you people will never have a right, and that includes for those who believe in their religious beliefs, because remember, religion controls your courts. Religion controls the price of your diapers. Religion controls the price of your paper, your toilet paper. If you guys don't figure this one out, that how the real government works compared to what the fantasy is led to believe to all of us, this is the saddest part. We get misguided on so many things in this world, and that's what I want to get into tonight. You know, it's like I got a gentleman that's supposed to be diving in the second hour here, dealing with explaining a few things what he's going through with Social Security. Now, Social Security originally was set up as an insurance plan, retirement Americans. It has nothing to do with elected and public servants, period. Okay? They are not a government agency, period. They are an agency that we, the lawful bloodline Americans, have a contract with that FDR started because he made an agreement with the British government way back when, part when he did the Bankruptcy Act of 1933, and when Woodrow Wilson signed the banks to dictate to you or us on some of the loans. But that was only supposed to be commercial industry, not private land and stuff that has developed after the 50s. Prior to the 1950s, we didn't have this stuff. And after World War II, half the things that are going on today are derived because you are living in Naziville today. The Democrats are Nazism. And as soon as you start accepting the reality of the fact, because we live in a republic, constitution, government, so that means statute, codes, and administration or bills that the House and Senate federally or state passes are administrative rules that only affect elected and public servants, registered church members, registered voters, and immigration. And we have done the research, and we have the laws that even says this stuff. We put it in our instruments. Nobody's disputed it. I have even brought it up on the Oregon State House and Senate public hearings in front of the Mayor's Commission and everything. Nobody's ever disputed me. I even have senators and House of Representatives admitting on record that property taxes are voluntary. State and federal income tax, voluntary. All right. Now, it's mandatory technically, even though the 16th Amendment was never, ever ratified. It was never, ever, ever passed. And we put that in our flyers that I put out with Dave and I show. And I put that out, and that's June 7th, 1967. The House and Senate went through that and even proved beyond a shadow of a doubt it was never ratified. That was in 1967. Congress proved it was never ratified. That was before the House and Senate, where the House was taken over by the Democratic Party. Democratic Party stands for democracy, the ruling of the devil. And that's the way I look at it, because if you have a democracy, the majority wins. So when the majority says that you're going to pay $5 for 4 rolls of toilet paper, you're going to pay $5 for 4 rolls of toilet paper. In a republic, the republic says, hey, toilet paper is residual from the wipe ass of the trees that are so full of shit, it has no value, and we used to throw that away until we learned how to make it into pulp toilet paper. So basically, it only has a value of, say, 99 cents market-wise. You know, we're not going to charge you $5. But in a democracy, this is how we get raped, robbed, and pillaged. And that's the one thing that you have to realize, that you do get raped, robbed, and pillaged on the structure you do. You know, I mean, I've been going through a lot of stuff on the internet here lately, on Facebook and privately, with structures of people going through, bringing up points of view when they don't even know what they're talking about. They'll bring up stuff and then they'll go off on tangents and they have no idea what they're talking about. That includes taxes. That includes even life in politics. Because they don't do the research. They go by what somebody tells them on TV. They get it by some program, or somebody's telling them by a structure. You know, or they're trying to put their own structure together and trying to educate people that are going along. And if you're going by a lot of these people that are, you know, writing this stuff and doing this stuff that have never proven it, have not tried it, and we won't get into that because there's a lot of people who have done that and, you know, done it and they got lucky for a few years and now they're in jail. Okay? And that's the whole point, that you cannot go by structures that are not proven facts. The one thing that Dave and I do is that we do things totally different. We get into the same structure of what the House and Senate wrote. They wrote it. We're telling you what they wrote. And if they can't honor their own words, what's the point of them being in office? So that is treason, so they should be shot on the firing squad. They don't have a right to live then. All right, that's the whole point, that we live in a country that has a responsibility to the republic. And when Dave starts in, he'll give his republic point of view that I always like that, and we're going to start doing that every time on a talk show, because people need to realize that this is a republic, not a democracy. Democracy is the Roman Catholic crown of the devil, the Queen of England, the Queen of Hell. And I've said this many times. I've said it on even British talk shows. And people have gone, you shouldn't have said that. Excuse me. We're still at war with the British. Wake up, people. Okay? It's like the Queen of England and these people in the Vatican keep trying to take over your land, your assets. When you register your baby, you register your assets. You register your car. You register your home. Why are you registering your private property that you own personally? Why are you registering your own self and your own assets that you own? And that people go, well, oh, why should I have to file? Why should I have to claim this? Why should I have to do this? They're supposed to know better. Let me explain one valuable point, folks. The Constitution was written to protect lawful bloodline Americans first. Immigration has privileges, not rights. And I've argued with a lot of people that keep going off on the immigration. The 14th Amendment says that these people have more rights than we do as lawful bloodline Americans. These are the people who are paid by the Democratic Party to lie, cheat, and steal to you. They get their income from the Democratic Party. They don't get their income coming from the Republicans. They don't get their, and I don't like to use the word Republicans, because that's a devil's word too, the Republic. All right? They get their money coming in for people who are deciding what side that they want you to stand on. That's why I would never sell my soul to the company store. Trust me, I had many times to do it. There was a couple of times that if I would have sold my soul to company store, I'd be a multi-millionaire right now. And to tell you honest truth, sometimes I look back going, well, what would I rather have? But then the other side to me says, well, if they're supposed to be, the Great Spirit, they're supposed to be honored, they're supposed to be this, well, maybe there is. Maybe it might be a reality. And then when you start looking at it, when I keep going through these people on the internet that keep coming up and saying, well, we can't do this, or we have to do that, or, we already sold our soul to the government, and I've got people keep emailing me telling, Ed, quit fighting the system. Quit fighting the British government. They own you. You can't beat them. And I get people all the time telling me this shit. I'm still alive. I've been on my land for 20 years. I don't pay the system. Think about it. Okay? I mean, I didn't I traveled without a license. I hunt and fish for damn 40 years without a license to the privilege to feed myself. Then all of a sudden I'm getting attacked because I started standing up, and then when I started standing up, all these people didn't like that I was actually proving that I was telling the truth. So all of a sudden these people started attacking me through their friends, their neighbors. Trust me, I've never met an honorable woman in my life yet. I never met a woman who never cheated on a man. They've cheated once, and then they got remarried or something else, and maybe they haven't cheated a second time. Maybe they were honorable then. But you have to give them the credit at that point when they learned their lesson the first time. So that's where forgiveness, comprehension, compassion, and understanding comes in. That is not a Bible thing. That is a human thing. That is where we learn from our own mistakes. Those are the things that we grow up and we realize, because we get all this shit from TV news, especially the damn Bible bullshit of religious channels and TV, and all the TV programs teach about Bibles and all this stuff, and you're supposed to get on this track and pray. Well, what happened about being honorable to one another first in your relationship? All right? Without the honor of a relationship, you have nothing, period. You don't even have the respect of your children, period. And then people say, well, the guy abused me or the woman abused me. Well, all right, we've been through that ourselves. But the point being is, sometimes we make bad judgment calls. So when we make bad judgment calls, who are we supposed to hold liable? It's like I'm watching these people, and I've talked to people whining on the air going, oh, drug and alcoholic, and they're drug and alcoholic, and they did this and they did that. We should forgive them. They didn't know any better. That's a democratic bullshit crap of an employment strategy that they get a tax write-off for lying, cheating, stealing, robbing, and raping children and women and men. Come on, folks. Wake up to the reality. Okay? I mean, that's the whole point. We're living in reality. We don't live in this fantasy, so it's time for men to be men in this world and women to be women. And until we start standing up to one another, respecting one another first, admiring one another, for our accomplishments, all right, what we're doing, how we're doing it, it's like, it's frustrating. I mean, a few years back, I used to have the kids up in the neighborhood, and all the kids knew me. They would wave, hey, Ed, and then I have new kids in the neighborhood, and they walk around like they're terrified of me. And it's like, so what are they being told in school? Because I know I've proven this. I've put judges in jail. I put cops in jail. I put public service in jail in 48 states. I've been involved in a lot of filings and stuff where my names have been personally involved. I know, and I've talked to medical personnel in the last few days because of my medical condition. It's severe. And I'm like, sometimes I wonder how many dartboards that have my picture on it. And boy, it's funny when you get the Snickers. But I don't blame them because I comprehend because of what they're doing. And I've had a few of these public servants and the medical providers have been bluntly honest with me going, well, Ed, you do this and you do that. It does rock the boat, and people don't know what to think because, they don't know any better. And I've had a few recently that says,
unmuted.
educate me.
Muted.
And I've done actual research to check you out on your own Facebook site and check you out on the internet and do research through the House and Senate. I didn't believe you were real and telling me the truth. You know, I mean, the one thing is I have no reason to lie. Number two, Dave and I have no reason to sit there and run you guys in a different direction because of what we're doing. You know, it's like Dave has got a wonderful idea and a solution to our biggest problem. When you're filing your your cases in the Superior Court, don't forget that you have to call the Secretary of State, the attorneys, the judges, call them as witnesses. Some of these people wrote these cases, and so when they wrote the structure, we should be able to call them and put them on the witness stand to explain their point of view of their conclusion of their decision of what they did by the Constitution versus democracy. Remember, democracy is a devil's Bible called the British government, the Queen of England, and believe me, I've attacked that structure many times. I'm the one who filed on the Queen and the Pope's soul. You know, isn't that a fact, Dave? I guess Dave's muted.
Yeah, it is, Ed.
Okay, and where was the last one you just pulled off that was filed, that I was filing on the Pope's soul? What agency was that?
That was with the one where we're going to file our lawsuit, the U.S. Court of Claims.
Oh, so I had that in the Court of Claims. See, you think I'm telling you people stuff that is not real? It's real. See, if you're going to stand up and be a man or a woman, it's standing up being a man or a woman. Okay, now we have rights. Now, elected and public servants, registered church members, and voters, and all immigration have privileges. Immigration does not have rights. The only reason why an immigrant would have right, a legal immigrant, 4 or less generations in this country, so long as the immigrant did not commit any major crime. Petty theft is where you get spanked on the hand, you pay a deal, and you get out of it. I'm not talking petty theft because every child has done petty theft, stole a candy bar or something like that. That's part of life and learning, so sometimes we have to spank the hand and, you know, give the child, boy or girl, a chance of looking at things before they go on future in life, because that's part of life itself. You know, this fantasy where people get brought up going, well, the God says this and the Bible says this, that is not life, folks. That is not real life. You all know real life. You've all been through real life on things that you have lived through. So once you start living life and start having respect for one another and start going, well, somebody made a mistake. Because like I said, with drugs and alcohol, I mean, I watch these people going, oh, drugs and alcohol, they shouldn't do this. And, oh, marijuana is still a gateway drug. Marijuana is no gateway drug. If you ever smoked a joint, you cannot get off the couch. Let's be realistic. And it ain't a gateway drug because when you smoke a dope and you can't get off the couch, it ain't a gateway because you can't get to the gate. You know, be realistic here. You know, it frustrates me when people get lost in all this crap that they don't live in reality. They assume what somebody else says. And I don't expect anybody to specifically go out and live it, learn it, and certain things that happen in life. But the point that I expect people to do is be comprehensible for their own actions and reactions as the people around them. Now, the one thing is when we make errors or judgments or mistakes, we're supposed to have the structure of going back and saying, hey, you know, hey, I apologize for something like this. You know, I've been through that in a serious relationship I was in years ago with a woman and child. Or two, actually, she had 3 kids. I had a woman that came into my life, brought 3 kids, gave me a responsibility. I said, are you sure? No, you got to comprehend it. I'm not a game player. I don't have compassion in this other shit. Well, she had a couple kids that were out of control, and I said, okay, well, this is the way I deal with things. So we dealt with stuff for 2.5 years. We never had an issue. We never had an argument. Her kid, one of her kids, you know, was so special ed, they said it was so retarded. In a year, she knew more about what was going on than the teachers and doctors did. But she was so mentally retarded, she couldn't comprehend reality. All right? People are brain dead taught. They're brain dumbed down. The school district and the Senate and House do this. Your elected and public service do this. Your counties do this because they care about employment numbers. Remember, if you ADHD, come on, look at ADHD, attention deficit disorder. What a mentally retarded statement. Every man, woman, child, dog, cat, bird, squirrel, fish, every animal on the planet Earth has attention deficit disorder because we all get our attention distracted and going in a different direction. All right, we're sitting out there playing baseball. A bird flies by you. Oh, attention deficit disorder. Oh, that's a medical excuse. Bullshit. Look at the history. I was a guinea pig for mental that bullshit in 70 to 72, Cal Berkeley St. Mary's Hospital. Even the director of the foundation of it for Cal Berkeley even admitted it was a fraud. They had to come out and admit it was a fraud in 81. Type it in on the internet. Do the research. When I went back to get my other medical records, because I had some of my medical records destroyed in my own home because I had all this stuff. I saved all this stuff going back in my life. So it got destroyed because people knew I was telling the truth. They didn't want the truth out. Because this is how they could go back to the House and Senate and derive income and funds. Remember, when the Senate and House passes a bill, it's a bill. It's like the bill you get from when you go buy a product. Because, see, when you get your water bill, that's not a bill, that's a statement. When you get your phone bill, oh, that's not a bill, that's a statement. You get your insurance, oh, that's a statement too. You know, when you get a bill, that means when you go to J.C. Market or Macy's or something like that, and you got a credit card, or you go to a restaurant and the waitress hands you a bill for the food, that's a bill. That's what you pay. The bills that these men and women pass are trying to put you in alignment to what? Oh, religious points of view. Your House of Senate runs from the House of Resolution of, the British government. Every religious organization gets a tax write-off from a 501c3 through 9. They are, what do they call that? A religious organization. Okay, so everybody could do a religious organization so they don't have to pay.
It's a tax-exempt status.
Yeah, and that is done by the IRS through the British Queen, through the Vatican of England, of the Pope in Rome. You comprehending this reality? So if you get out of the system, now Social Security, we want to get that back because William Jefferson Clinton, March 3rd, 1997, signed the employee structure payment over to the Queen of England. Hillary Clinton was going to give this country to the Queen of England. She's pissed. She was waiting to have this country given back to her. If she was going to have this country back to her, that means driving without a license and all these court cases that I've been personally involved with, a lot of big court cases that won across the country in the last couple of years, and David's been involved in a few too. And we've done this with other people, rewrote their stuff, or we gave them ideas. We didn't write anything because we ain't claiming no liability. But, they got things that were done. Now, if the Queen of England owned it, you don't have a right. And everybody goes, oh, religion. Let me tell you something. Your religion is so full of shit. Because, I pray to God. I pray to this. Well, how about praying to yourself and get off your butt, grow your food? How about collecting the rainwater so your children don't starve? Everybody started working in their communities like this and working with their neighbor, really working with their neighbor, not for personal financial gain, not to have an image, in the community. How about surviving and eating? How about drinking pure water? Well, that's sort of hard today, technically. The West Coast is really hard because Fukushima has killed off the ocean. I just talked to a fisherman the other day. He was out on the ocean for 3 weeks fishing. They didn't get a god-blasted bag of fish. 3 weeks on the ocean, no fish. Tells you something what's going on with the West Coast. California's got dolphins and whales washing up, sharks washing up. Oregon's had the same thing with sea lions washing up on the shores. Different birds washing up from Canada all the way through to the Bahamas, and the scientist comes up, oh, there's some disease we don't know about. They know it's the oil from, what was that thing? Exxon leak, and then Fukushima leaking. They know that the ocean has been so poisoned, but if you knew the truth, oh my God, you might panic, because you're not responsible yourself. Now, these men and women that own these corporations, that's what I tell people. It's like the people with the pipeline, and I'll bring up the Bundy situation. How come nobody's filed criminal charges on these men and women? That's the point. If you don't file the criminal charges, you don't live, you don't exist. Attorney doesn't work for you. I have never met an attorney to date. 40 years I have been doing this, and I've been involved with congressional attorneys, law attorneys, 9th district attorneys, attorneys with the House and Senate, attorneys all over from California, Washington, and Oregon. 40 years I've never met an honorable one yet. How many attorneys that you met that are willing to take your court case on pro bono because you got a factual court case that'll win? There's a lot of people out there that run these programs out there on the internet, and if you don't give me $1,500 or $5,000 or retainer or $500, I can't look at your case. But if you have a winning case, hey, I can prove all that. I've written my case up. I've had attorneys that says, hey, we can bring your case, and I send them my case. They go, oh, well, shit, that's a winning case. We can do this, but I need at least $5,000 to start it. And I said, well, if it's a winning case, why do you need money? They're going for $500 million or $5 million or $6 million. You're getting 40% off the cut. So if it's a winning case, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't know what the judge might do. Well, excuse me, what the hell does a judge have to do when it's supposed to go in front of a jury of 12? And when you go to these court case instructions, you got to make sure you write a jury of 12. You go in front of a jury of 6, that's maritime boat jury. That is not land jury. That is not American jury. That is British jury. And remember, the British people are not all that intelligent. Some are. And I put a video up the other day dealing with, Canada. Canada. Everybody's going, Canada and the United States are part of the same thing. Wake up, dummies. Canada is owned and run by the Queen of England. She has nothing to do. Canada has nothing to do with the United States. And if you get technical, all right, people go, well, drinking age in the United States is 18 to 20 years old. That is the legal, or 21, legal. Legal is British government. Wake up to the truth. Lawful is constitutional right. If you're a 14, 15-year-old kid, you go get drunk and stupid. Come on. Most of us in our 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, we got drunk. We did stupid shit. The owner says, hey, you tore down a fence. When are you going to repair it? Oh, shit, we went back, and at least I did. I went back and repaired it. And one incident, I went and repaired 10 feet I didn't have to do because it wasn't my responsibility, but I took out 2 feet of it. So the other 10 feet, I had to take care of that one. Didn't matter if I did it or not because I had to show honor for not him, not God, not the Great Spirit. I do have to do that one. But that's what I did. And the Great Spirit to me is that I did that extra 10 feet because I had to make honor because if I didn't take out that 2 foot of that fence, the 10 feet would have never fallen. So that's where it comes down to, folks, is we're not paying attention to reality here. And that's the point. Medically, you guys got to pay attention. Obama passed one of the biggest bills in the United States history to murder Americans. Not immigrations, not immigrants, but Americans. But most people don't read the bills. They go by what the media does. We're going by the media putting all these stuff with Trump out right now. Everybody goes, oh, Trump's an asshole. Trump's is this. Trump is that. I don't give a shit. He closing the borders, great, because we need to know who we got in here. We need to know that 60% of the food in the grocery store when you go today is plastic and bullshit. It's lead-painted chemicals. If we close the borders, maybe we could get that reduction down to, instead of 60% that is fake food, maybe we get down to 40%, maybe 30% in the next year. Because we don't have the border crap coming in that's poisoning us. People have to open. You have to open your minds to be realistic of what's coming in, how you're living. You have children. How are you going to protect them? How are you going to make sure that they're able to live? The British structure is once they're 18, throw them on the street. Not my problem. That's honest to God, the British way of thinking. Oh, that goes back to the Roman days. Roman Catholic law. Oh, and that's what they're preaching in our court systems, primarily. But it stuns me how people don't comprehend this stuff and get this stuff when it's right in front of your face and you want to argue about stuff. You don't want to listen to the truth. You know, and like I said, you know, I mean, it's amazing. I'm fighting some severe medical situations myself. I don't know what my turn is going to be coming up. But I'll tell you one thing, at least I know I got my filings done on the souls of these men and women. At least I know where I'm going, because the other point is say, oh, Ed, don't curse these people out. You do that, the devil's going to get you. The devil's going to do this to you. Well, if that's true on the other side of the fantasy belief, and that's the way I look at it, then I'm going for the devil's point of view, because I want to be the devil. I want to come back ripping people's heart out. I don't want compassion. Why should people have compassion? So when, you know, and I'm being a little sarcastic with that too, because there ain't no devil, there ain't no God. You know, it's all coming out that it's all been man-made. It's all mind control structure. The structure that we have today, once we come to reality with man, woman, and child, we raise food, we collect water, we grow food, we skin our meat, we make sure that our pelts are taken care of, we make sure that we have shelter, we make sure our women are protected, our children are protected. Okay, we can get back to common sense instead of being plugged in to what's going on and half the stuff. Most people get plugged in and don't see the reality of the truth. We do have the structure to save the planet on these structures of what to do. You know, it's like we have police vehicles that are running on water instead of gas. We got solar electricity, like California. They're going against solar because Jerry Brown can't make enough on solar, even though they put all the tax credits into solar. But Jerry Brown pocketed the money for the Democratic Party. Oh, for the illegals, to pay the illegals. Now California wants to pay all legal fees for all immigrants and stuff. Excuse me? We're the Americans. I'm a fifth-generation San Franciscan. You know? I mean, these people turned on their people. Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Brown, I'm ashamed. I worked on 2 of Jerry Brown's personal campaigns in the 70s. I knew his girlfriend, Kirsten Gale, back then. Personally. Been there, done it with Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, some of the nice certain court judges back in the 70s. You know, I used to go to their homes. I used to sit there and talk to them publicly and over their homes. I used to take the Golden Gate bus or the San Francisco bus to their home and go sit there in the afternoon and talk to them. I did this stuff. You know, I didn't sit in front of a TV set. The only time mainly I did that is when I went to take care of my grandfather. When my grandmother needed some time to go to Reno. Of course, that's the one thing I did love about the Reno bus, you know, because she used to take the Reno bus. As long as she had so much money, she got a free bus ride. And she got a free weekend to get away from, you know, not away from, but her husband, my grandfather at the time. You know, because he had a stroke. He was paralyzed, couldn't take care of it. They couldn't hire stuff. And the money that was going to take care of people that are elderly disabled, Social Security structure like today, is being pocketed by these employees and these nonprofit agencies. If we shut down 60% of the nonprofit agencies today, my God, the health care in people's homes would be fluent today for lawful Americans. We cut off all the immigration funding today. Oh, my God, America would survive. I mean, you know, it's like stepping out in the world is stepping back into your structure of your country, separating the two difference, because the one thing is people say, well, the Bible says we're supposed to take care of the world. The Bible is British. The Bible is not American. The Bible invaded this country, shoved down our throats. Type in 1878, where the British government gave the Indians the contaminated blankets, and then they give them a Bible that says, pray to God. So my take, and I've done this, and I was just on a talk show the other day, I said, oh, yeah, now we get to pray to the devil. The ones who murdered and raped and killed us, so we got to go, they give us a book and go pray to them that did this to us. Aren't we supposed to be able to take up our arms and make sure they can't do it to our grandchildren? When are we going to come to reality, folks? So, but anyhow, I don't want to get off on too much of a rampage where I'm sounding like I'm scolding, but, you know, it's like, I mean, you know, the bottom line comes down to if we don't start taking care of one another, and if you don't start standing up for yourself. Now, I've got people that I've watched, some people saying, asking other people, how did they file this? How did they do this? It would be nice if they actually told them they got it from me or Dave. You know, I mean, I understand that certain people are sitting there trying to have their deal, but if you can't respond to people that you don't know, apparently you don't know how you did it because you didn't comprehend how you won, you know, incorporate the conversations through. Get back to working with one another. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to save your bloodline. Remember, I don't have bloodline. My 2 children were killed. Why the hell do I care about you or your kids? I don't have children. I don't have a bloodline. Why do I care about anything? I don't have a woman in my life because women lie, cheat, and steal. Never had an honorable one, at least that I paid attention to or knew. I always caught him in something, you know, instead of honesty, you know. So, I mean, it's like, let's be realistic, you know. You know, if there's an honorable woman with the guys out there, you're blessed. And the main thing is you have to be honorable with her for her to be blessed. It's a two-way street. The Constitution gives a woman equal rights as a man. Democracy separates it. Remember, your Constitution gives you equal rights. And if you are an immigrant until your bloodline is true, so long as you're paying into the system, a citizen has rights so long as he's paying into the system. That's not a conflict of interest. You're paying them for their employment services. That was the contract of 1871 after the Civil War, and I argue with people over the South over this. But the South was the British government, that flag. You know, everybody's upset that they went and took that flag off of the buildings, the cross, the Jack flag. The original Jack flag, the original war Jack flag, and it's a war Jack flag. The original one is flying downtown London, England, in sewer and water. The original one is when you walk in the building. That is the British war flag that the South flew. You can type it in. They actually got pictures on the internet of it. So it's like we get to know real history compared to what we've been led to believe. So, but anyhow, I've been racking on for a little longer than I expected. I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave. I do appreciate you all joining us, and the whole thing about it is not arguments. It's about knowing who's lawful and legal on our soil, having respect and honor for the ones who are honorable, lawful as well as legal. Okay, because without legal citizens and without lawful bloodline Americans, we don't have a bloodline to pass down to secure this land, this soil. You can't be invaded to have that because that's rape, robbing, and pillaging, and Australia is still dealing with that one after 200 years. Go type in Australia history for 200 years of rape, robbing, and pillaging, because that's when the British government shoved them all off to Australia. All the criminals went to Australia before the Mayflower came here. So, but it's like learning how it all works compared to what we judge, because the history ain't taught the way it is. Because if they taught real history, people would question. You know, it's like, you know, going back. Everybody says, oh, the blacks were enslaved. Well, we all been enslaved at one point. Everybody says, oh, we should pay all the blacks all this money from the 1880s and all this stuff. No, we shouldn't. The families who are liable should, if that's the case. But you and I should not pay it out of the taxes or dollars or anything. You know, and it comes to a point, because we go back to history, look at what happened in the white, the Irish and the Russians were slaves, 1,500 years, 2,000 years ago. It's not a color issue. Remember, racism is religious. Racism is not a color issue. And that's what we're dealing right now. Today is racism. Right now you're being told your religious beliefs, being told, oh, we're going to have Muslim law. We're going to have, Roman law. We're going to have constitutional law. We're going to have some foreign law from another country. Excuse me. The Constitution is the law of this land. The rest of it, take it back to your country and leave. And with that, I'm going to pass the floor over to my partner, Dave. We do thank you for joining us. We are not attorneys. We are not lawyers. We are just guys that read the actual laws and administrative rules, put them together in a rational point of view, and most of you do comprehend it, and so we're very thankful to have you join us. And Dave, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ed. Good comments, and I appreciate everyone who joined us tonight. Ed and I really didn't want to take up a lot of time before we got into Q&A tonight, but there is a couple things I wanted to bring forth. Number one, in 2011, I issued a warrant for citizen's arrest for all IRS agents in the United States for tax fraud. And my local yokels here decided that they could ignore the Constitution and their constitutional oath of office to enforce the laws of this land. And so it sat on a shelf for a while. Well, today I opened it up and was going to cut, copy, and paste it and put it on the wall so everyone could see it, only to have it keylogger hacked before I could even mail it. So you have to comprehend that one. How does someone keylogger hack a document in your personal files so you cannot cut, copy, and paste it and post it? So in the event that anyone feels that keylogger hacking is a violation of your right under Hale versus Hinkle to carry on your business in your own way without government interference, now we have traitors. Because anyone who's keylogger hacking is a traitor. Read the Constitution and see what the Constitution has to say. We are to be secure in our homes. And the minute you invade our home without a lawful authority to do so, you are committing treason against the Constitution.
Hey, Dave?
Yeah.
I'd like to add one point. That even comes to our country, our borders. All right? When you come into our country, it's the same thing. You don't have a right to come in and invade our country. It's the same thing as me walking into your home, putting a flag up and say, oh, I claim it. You can't do that. Like people have been trying to claim this country for years. You can't claim something that was never lost or stolen.
Well, that's how the Crown initially stole the United States from, who was that? The natives that were here before they got here.
And that's not Indians. That's native. That's black, Chinese, Russian, Indian, whatever you want to call them. We were all here.
That's right. So, and who told them they had to be discovered? Were they lost? They had to be discovered. People better wake up to reality. What is true and what isn't true. That's what's really, really irritating me about this this whole mess we're in today, because people have not been honest.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, in 9 emails today, and I've emailed this to Ed and a lot of other people. I'll just say that. My arrest warrant for all IRS agents, and when this gets posted, it will also include a letter of marque and reprisal for all citizens, all bloodline Americans, to where you can go and enforce that arrest warrant. I made it that way because our elected and public servants will not do the job we're paying them to do. So by putting a letter of marque and reprisal with it, which I obtained from Rod Class, by the way, who graciously gave it to me, and so this is a legitimate letter of marque. So if you have an issue with the IRS, you no longer have to deal with the issue by going to your Crown employees. You can deal with this yourself in any manner you wish to do so. So with that in mind, when we get this posted to our boards, you may all cut, copy, and paste it to your own documents and enforce it. And I don't want to see them going to jail, so just take care of them from the beginning, and we'll have it over with.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as these people realize they're not going to run ramshot over this nation anymore, since they were ruled unconstitutional for the Union States, this republic, in 1935, U.S. versus Constantine, they have no subject matter jurisdiction inside a republic or these Union States. So you can do with them as you wish. Now, I find it interesting today. I got a letter from the IRS telling me that I recently communicated with them and that they require an additional 45 days to investigate my account. What account? I don't have an account with them. But this is the fraud scheme that they use. You know, you contact. No, I did because you're lying.
Dave, you got to respond immediately, not guaranteeing 45 days because they're trying to use 45 days to come up with some lie. You've already filed with them. You say
no, I'm going to tell them I'm not granting them 45 days.
Oh, you granted them?
No, I will not grant them 45 days.
I know, we're not hearing what I'm...
One more day. Pay forward on what you owe and shut your damn mouth. Pay me my $9.8 billion and I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's not hard to figure out.
Yep.
You counterfeited the debt. I sent you an affidavit. In fact, I sent you 3 affidavits and you didn't answer any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the judgment in commerce is on my side.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't want to take up a lot of time with this because we've hashed this over and over and over and over again. I just want to make sure people comprehend the fact that when I present to you now this warrant for citizen's arrest, which law enforcement don't want to get involved in because that messes up their rape, rob, and pillage scheme. So now we the people, so it's a legal maxim, when the law of man does not prevail, the law of nature must. So now it's going to be a law of nature, and we'll take care of it our way. So if everybody is comprehending that, we'll move on. Ed, I'd like to open it up to Q&A.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Let our audience have a say in what's going on.
So why don't we unmute the board?
Q&A session has started.
There we go. So go ahead, first one. Well, I know we had a couple that were calling in tonight to ask questions.
Unmuted. Muted.
Okay.
I don't know if people don't comprehend the fact that when they come after you, you go after them and file the criminal charges. And once they comprehend the fact that we are not going to put up with crap from anybody anymore, that should solve the problem.
We do have somebody here, guys.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, Dave and Ed. This is Melissa.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Melissa. Good to hear from you after so long.
Yes, and I got paperwork I got to send to you tomorrow morning.
Good.
So I'm kind of a little questioning on how the exact charges go, since you brought up the fact of charges, since I have to file charges against an officer for abuse.
Okay, there is a form. You go to mygov.gov, and you go to forms, and you get the one for criminal charges. I think I posted on our websites the links you can go to get those. There's one for Social Security, there's one for Congress, there's one for police, there's one for, and it goes on and on. So mygov.gov, forms, and I think they're in alphabetical order, which will help. You just go down for criminal.
But she's talking about, too, she's got to figure out how to put it together.
Oh, okay.
That's why what I suggested to her 3 weeks ago is to write me the things up, send it to me so I can look at it. We could be put in order. But, Melissa, you got that one point that he's bringing up on the structure there?
I think I do.
Okay, if not, he's going to email that to me. I'll make sure it gets emailed, and I got to make sure that information is put up on our site too, New Oregon Trackers, so that way it's there, so people could go right to it and print it. Because we got to make sure that's safe.
The direct link into the forms is posted on our site, Ed.
On which site?
All of them.
On our Facebook sites, but that has been how long? We don't have them posted where somebody's right at the top, is where I'm saying that.
I got you. No, they might have to use on a lot of the stuff that we have posted. You have to scroll down and find this stuff.
Yeah, hang on a minute. We're getting feedback.
All I know is it passed the Senate. I don't know if it went through the House yet.
Hang on a minute. Let me get back to the board so that way I can go cut the feedback off.
Nah, we've got a wireless caller that's talking to other people and is not muted at the moment, so.
Oh, that must be Melissa.
No,
Okay,
that wasn't me, because I muted myself out when you guys were talking.
Right,
okay.
The other one jumped in, but yeah, he muted himself, which we greatly appreciate.
Yeah. So, but okay, we have to work on that. I will try to figure that side out coming up so we can get that to you here in the next 24 hours. Because I still got to post it up on our site. Go ahead, Melissa.
I greatly appreciate that, because I've been in excruciating pain since the 24th.
So have I.
I know exactly how you feel now, Ed.
It's like, and also too, it helps to be You know, when you're listening and well, anyhow, life is a learning experience. It depends on how we learn.
Yes, it is.
Right.
Another thing, whenever you file your criminal complaint, you state them as claims. You don't sit there and bitch. You state them as claim, because when you issue a claim against someone, then you're entitled to, what do they call that?
Remedy.
And remedy.
And effectively, whenever you're doing a criminal complaint, you're whining.
That's what a complaint means. You're a whiner.
They call them complaint forms. So you want to correct that from complaint to claim.
Yep.
And go from there. Wherever they use the word complaint, you use claim. That gives you the...
Don't forget corpus delicti.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, you're definitely the crime victim, corpus delicti, 18 U.S.C. 3771. Grand jury investigation demanded.
And you have to put that in. If you don't put that in, you're not going in a case of the United States case, you're going in the British court system.
May I interject?
Go ahead.
Did you say 18 U.S.C. subsection 3771?
Yes.
Okay. May I ask another question?
Sure.
Where are these so-called criminal complaints filed? Since I've never seen anything other than a so-called
usually on the form
territorial
at the
court.
bottom or on the instruction sheet, because there's an instruction sheet with each of them. It will tell you where to mail it.
Okay.
Or fax it. Some of them have fax numbers. You can actually fax it to them.
Is there an appropriate complaint for me being attacked under the color of statutory codes and rules they want to call laws? Is there a type of complaint?
Actually, there was a case filed relating to the very thing you're talking about. It's called jurisdiction. And I've got to get that to Ed so he can put that on the board. But that case, when he questioned the jurisdiction, the judge and the prosecutor, which was the federal government, the U.S. Department of Justice, backed down, totally refused to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy sent him another instrument, gave them 11 days to respond, and they didn't respond.
I'd like to know if that paper's simple enough for me to grab from the internet there, so that I could make my appropriate addendums to it and file it, say, by Thursday into Yamhill County Circuit.
Let me run downstairs to the office, and I will try to get that case up for you. And I'll send it over to Ed.
Okay, and also too, the Supreme Court just came out a case that I put up on all three of our Facebook walls. Supreme Court says if you're an innocent man or woman, they cannot keep any money. They have to return everything 100% to you. New Supreme Court case that just came out last week. Of course, that goes back to 1934 Supreme Court case that said the same thing. When I was reading it, and it was like I didn't have that one until I read it, but, well, I knew about the other one, but I didn't have it until I read it with the new one. But when they kidnap you, hold for ransom, if they bail you or anything like that, you're supposed to get 100%. In the state of Oregon, when they put bail on me for, oh shit, what did I pay them, $15,000 out of my pocket, they decided to keep $1,000. They said for administration fees. They dismissed my case, recalled my case, threw my case out of court, because they committed fraud. And they publicly admitted it in writing. And I can't even get nothing filed in the state because the state attorney general and every attorney and everything runs for me. I mean, trust me, I know, on their dartboard, my picture's there. You know, I mean, they keep running from me, and even though I'm the innocent man that was assaulted and almost murdered, you know, I mean, it's just because I tell the truth.
Okay, Ed.
Go ahead.
September 14th, 2015, United States District Court, Eastern District of Texas, Lufkin Division. The case number is 9:CV-138.
914-CZ.
CV, criminal. CV, or civil, I mean. CV, civil, -138.
There is no such thing as a criminal court, though. I mean, I know they call them criminal courts, but didn't the 11th Amendment do away with criminal courts? And isn't there nothing but aren't all courts civil?
For you and I, they're civil. For them, they use British law and go criminal. The court never tells you what law they're practicing.
That's right.
That's how this guy won his case. He actually demanded their jurisdiction.
Hey, they had Community Law Week in Portland. The Oregon State Bar had Community Law Week last week, and one of the events for Community Law Week was an open forum in room 208, which is the presiding judge's courtroom, Nan Waller, from 1 to 3 on Saturday, and it was Community Law Week and the 14th Amendment. But they wouldn't answer intelligently one question having to do with the 14th Amendment. They acted like they just didn't understand the question, but I was the only one there. They've only put up a flyer on the front door of the 4th floor law library for Multnomah County Court Building, and the only other people that were there were a couple of librarians, one paralegal from their traffic parking citation office, and one other attorney to greet them. It was really a fraud, but Cheryl Albright was there and Nan Wall, she's the presiding judge, has been since 2012, but they couldn't answer one question having to do with the 14th Amendment, and yet the forum was called Community Law and the 14th Amendment. And this was sponsored by the Oregon State Bar. and I was the only one there. The only reason I saw it because I was in the legal library studying on Thursday.
Hey, Ron, you never brought up the 13th Amendment to him?
Well, that would have been a good one, but I didn't. I didn't.
Are you talking the real 13th Amendment or the slavery issue?
Well, I know the real one, but I was wondering because they probably would have handcuffed him, threw him out of the building.
Well, either one of them would have been okay to ask, but yeah.
Well, we can always go to the.
Hey, here's a theory of mine. Here's a theory of mine, Ed, that I wanted to share with you. I've been trying to get them up off my back, and I've never filed a complaint/claim against a district attorney. And so I finally, I did the research and found out, does the Oregon State Bar receive this complaint through the Client Assistance Office just like it does on, say, a regular attorney? And they say, yeah, that's where they receive the complaints for district attorneys, like so-called judges. Those complaints go to the Judicial Committees on Fitness and Disability in Beaverton. So,
right.
I got it. And, it just clicked in my mind. I don't have any proof of it because I never heard anybody else talk about it. But I believe that the district attorney there represents the defendant in the same manner that an appointed or a retained attorney does. They just don't let you know that. They just don't let you know that. And they have not responded to my complaint/claim that I wrote, using my own words, not using their complaint form. They have not responded to that one, but they did respond to the other /complaint claim form that I wrote up, and they said that it was like a letter, and they didn't want to accept it. But just recently, John Collins, a circuit court judge, Antioch County, 30 years, was presiding judge, appointed a public defender, and I am not in agreement with that. I don't consent, and I didn't accept his appointment. And I've done a whole lot of things, and maybe not enough of the right thing to have him removed from the case. Maybe now with what I put in today to the Oregon State Bar will change that assumption of mine. But it's very interesting, and like I said, I don't know what you think about it. I'd like to hear a little feedback from you. I think the district attorney acts just like a public defender on any case in regards to a defendant. You got any feedback on that?
I couldn't
Dave, you there?
Sir, I'm sorry. Ed, did you catch what he had to say?
I didn't get all of it because it was muffled.
May I?
Say it again, Ron.
Okay, I have a theory that the district attorney's office represents the so-called defendant in the same manner as a public defender. Do you agree or disagree, or you got any theory or assumption
my take
on that
on
idea?
any prosecutor or public defender is dealing in hearsay evidence, because he's not a party to the actual felony or whatever it is. So he's a hearsay witness in court.
I agree. He doesn't put any evidence on the record. Even if he's got a police report, it's still not evidence. And it's never a court because it's never convened. It's only in session.
Correct. Well, that's exactly right. If they do not convene the court to hear the matter between the plaintiff and the defendant, then it's all a sham legal process.
Yeah. Where they're only in there collecting the debt in a probate type setting that they've just camouflaged with their subterfuge.
Right.
You agree?
And I nailed a judge on that issue in court, right in front of me.
For you.
I said, since you failed to call this to convene this court, this whole thing is null and void.
Okay.
And the judge got really pissed off.
That's an act, too.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you're not the court. You are a trustee of this case in this matter. You cannot give an order. You cannot give anything. You're here to answer questions if there is a question in law. That's it. And to keep order. So don't give me your crap, because I'm not interested in it.
And if there's no remedy, then there's no law. If there's no law, there's no remedy. So, at that point, then are they invoking us or challenging us to? I'll take this one. To file bankruptcy, Chapter 11.
The courts don't want to deal in bankruptcy. The IRS don't want to deal in bankruptcy. And Congress don't want to answer questions related to bankruptcy.
But they certainly run a busy bankruptcy court, don't they?
They most certainly do.
Yeah, that's been going back since the Bankruptcy Act of '33 that was done by Woodrow Wilson in 1918.
And the one that they were running it under
bankruptcy
was a fraud.
The 1933 bankruptcy was
everything was bankrupt to begin with.
One at a time, please.
Was a put-up deal. We have it on record in the Congressional Record, page 400, Congressional Record House, that the bankruptcy was a forced issue to deny the American people their right to be paid for the war debt of World War I. The United States was not at war in 1933 with anyone, so how could Roosevelt issue a state of emergency using his War Powers Act when we weren't at war with anyone?
Didn't move that.
Roosevelt was the biggest crook as a president I think this nation's ever had.
Yeah, but they also assassinated him too, that nobody talks about.
Unmuted.
So, you know, people have to start getting into history and digging it out, because the bankruptcy of the United States was pre-planned with the G5 back when prior to Roosevelt even becoming president. They had this scheme all planned out. So people just sit there and watch TV and ignore their responsibility, which is given them in the 16th American Jurisprudence, Section 177. It's your duty to defend this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, so you better get off your dead center and start doing your job.
Mm-hmm. Now, don't forget, this goes back to Preston Bush, when he supported World War I and World War II, where he was actually convicted for treason, but got a plea bargain instead of being shot. What treason is supposed to do is you're supposed to get shot for treason. So he got away with a plea bargain, but he was convicted of treason against the American people. And that was part of what they called the League of Nations that they were forming back there. That is today the United Nations.
True.
The League of Nations is the same as the United Nations today. The United Nations didn't come into effect until 1941. The United States did not join in until being stupidly admitted by Democratic Party in 1947.
Well, you have to remember, Ed, that the UN was the brainchild of the British Crown.
Oh, don't forget Adolf Hitler was part of it.
1912. So if you do the research on the UN, you'll find out who it was who created it, and all the years it took for them to actually get the thing up and running.
Well, it was part of the brainchild of the Roman Catholic Church.
Guess who the treasurer is for the Great Britain crown? The Pope.
Wait a minute, did you guys catch that? The Pope.
Yes, I did.
You know, why do you think I filed on his damn soul? Where's the truth here, folks? And you guys want to go by the Bible or the devil? Remember, the Bible was written to keep you enslaved. It's what the true meaning of the Bible was written for. The Pope and King John wrote the Bible, or King James wrote the Bible to keep you enslaved.
May I interject to that question? That statement? What about the text before 1611? Do you think that was still the enslaving text before the King James Version? Because in that text, some of the literature, some of the script that I've read from that text says, "Forgive them not, for they know what they do."
Oh, forget that crap. They know what they do. You know what you do.
That's what I said. That's what I said in the text before the King James Version says that. It says, "Forgive them not, for they know what they do."
Oh, okay.
But that's before the King James Version of 1611.
Thank you.
Which once again proves they're playing with you on words.
Mm-hmm.
Turning the other cheek and all that horse pucky.
Oh, yeah.
They burn your house, they take your land, they kill all your animals, whore out your wife and pimp out your children. You're supposed to turn the other cheek and forgive them.
I know.
I'd have a rough time with that one.
Well, that's just like what they've done with their legalism. They came into town, they set up shop, they wrote a bunch of legal codes to glorify their pillage, plunder, and mayhem.
Rob and pillage, they got to justify it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
One more question, I'll go silent again. Did they pass that Senate Bill 719 through the House, do you know?
No, I don't know that one, Ron.
Okay.
That one I don't know. I got to find out a few things. Tomorrow I got to do a reference check on a few other things, too. They got one, I don't know if they're going to get through that other gun bill or not.
Actually, any gun bill in violation of the Constitution is an act of treason.
No, I know that, but I'm trying to call. I got to call them up tomorrow, see if I can get on the phone with them to speak, seeing that I cannot travel up there, because if I do, they'll kill me.
Okay. Do you ever got to have one of their licenses to drive?
No, I don't have their stuff.
Okay.
I have my own plates on my truck.
Right, but if that license, if you've ever had their license to drive and it's expired, then there's no contract. You should be all right to travel. I do know men who have had the driver license, but it's been expired for more than 20 years.
You're missing a point here. Okay. I filed out of the system. I'm out of the system.
Okay.
When I got accused a couple of years ago before they tried to murder me again, I was threatened, and it's on YouTube video, by the police chief, if I travel, they'll murder me.
Yep.
They want to keep me shut up because I've opened up a Pandora box. Trust me, Ron, my name is mentioned in any public building in 4 states. People go, who the fuck, what? You just mentioned my name. People know it. I've been involved in a lot more things than you know.
Well, Ed. Hey, Ed, if I may, Ed, say this, I started off as a skeptic with you, I mean, I listen because I need to listen because there's a chance I might learn something from you and whatever it is I hear. But, I started off thinking, like, this Ed, he says a lot. He toots his horn an awful lot, but, I'd like to see some of the proof in the pudding with this man. But the more I listen to you, the more I like you, Ed.
I appreciate it. But, Ron, I mean, you see some of the comments that you and I go through, other people in our emails, and, I mean, some of the people that Keenan and all this, I mean, we've known each other for years, and we dealt with each other, and everybody's off on their own little plateau, but they're not putting together, and it's like, I don't want to hear about the Bible. I don't want to hear about Yahweh and all this crap. You know where I'm coming from. Yeah, and it pisses me off because either we're going by the Constitution as the law of the land. The Constitution is my Bible. Does that make sense?
Well, so does that mean that you've read both sides of that contract with the Federalist Papers and the non-Federalist Papers? Have you studied it?
Yeah, I've been through it all. Plus, I'm an ordained minister.
Okay.
Do you realize that's why I comment about the crap I say about on the Bible is bullshit and all this shit? I mean, it's all bullshit. The devil, the God and devil is all made up to control us. I've been saying that going back since I was 15 years old, and people have been slamming me for it. Go ahead, May. Well, I don't mean to be yelling. I'm still suffocating. I'm going back in later this week to see how long I get to live. Because my lungs are collapsing. But anyhow, let's take a break here, Ron. Let's let somebody else in. Next question. Go ahead, please.
I'm here. This is Tony on Oklahoma.
Hi, how you doing, Tony?
Good. How are you?
Raising hell, kicking butt like you, and that's the whole point, is getting answers, right?
That's right.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay, the question I had, you mentioned some Facebook pages where some of your documentation is at. Could you tell me what the names of those Facebook pages are?
Absolutely. I think you're one of my friends, aren't you?
Yeah, recently, yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean, recently. One of them is, besides Tax Fraud in America, that's Dave's major page.
Okay.
All right, that's where we get into the tax structure. We can prove all the stuff. And trust me, I've never been in the system. They've tried to come after me, and I beat them every time.
That's awesome.
Okay, but see, the point is knowing what you're doing instead of listening to them, because I go by the law, not by administrative rule.
Right.
Okay. The other one is the United States. Go ahead. We got feedback. Go ahead. Who's speaking?
Not behind me.
Huh? Okay. Okay, no problem, no problem. That happens. Sometimes we don't get muted. I do that myself sometimes. I overspeak or have something going on in the kitchen. But anyhow, the other one is United States for America, because that's the way the original structure of this country was written, was for America. That didn't change until 1871 to contract with the British government as employees of America. So the other one is United States for America, Republic, elected and public servants oversights. Because in real history of this country, there's 4 branches of government. The first branch is we, the lawful bloodline Americans. The second branch is judicial. You know, and I've argued this with House and Senate members and congressmen on the phone itself for 25 years. You know, and some of these guys know it, but if they actually told you the truth, they wouldn't have their budgets, because it's sad the way
Unmuted.
that people have turned a budget. But anyhow, let me get back to the other groups here. So I got the United States for America, Republic, elected and public servants oversight. The other one we have is neworegontrackers.com. And then the third one that we have is, or the fourth one we have, is Civil War 1866 Lawful Bloodline Americans. And the reason why that's up, because I've argued with people going, well, you're not Native going back 1,000 years here. No, my family came here. You know, I have two sides. I have Native, I'm told. I have, you know, whatever Heinz 57, as most of us are half-breeds, okay? But the point being is that when the Supreme Court, after the Civil War, stated, at that point, the Civil War made sure, under the 14th Amendment, of citizenship who was lawful and legal. That was actually part of the original 13th Amendment, if you actually read it. That's where 1884, where the Supreme Court stated you could be an inhabitant. I mean, you could be born on this soil, so there's no such thing as anchor babies. This is back in 1884 they decided this. There's no anchor babies. So you could be born on this soil, bloodline, and that was the actual Supreme Court decision, because you have to have bloodline on the soil to be an inhabitant, not an anchor baby. Anchor babies. You cannot be just born here. It's like me walking in your house and put a flag on your couch and says, Now the couch is mine, the lounge chair over there is mine, and give me the remote. I can't do that in your home. If I did that, I might get shot. You know what I mean? Okay, so wait a minute. Tony, did I get some of your answers to this question?
Yeah, definitely, because that'll give me an opportunity to go and look at some of the documentation and everything that's out there. I appreciate it. I yield.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, you're new on my Facebook friend. Send me some information. I'll make sure that when I'm putting stuff out, you get it when I put it out, too. So that way it keeps you guys and your friends and stuff going on to keep up. So this way you know the separation of lawful and legal and how to deal with the circumstances.
How would you like me to send you information?
On the left-hand side of our web pages are the links to all the other web pages. So all she has to do is click on those links from one to the next to get all the information she's looking for.
Okay, well, go ahead, Tony. Finish what you were saying.
How would you like me to send you my information? Do you want an email or do you want it on your Facebook page?
Do you have my email?
No, I do not.
Okay, my emails, and let me tell you, so long as I only respond when people send me an email 3 times.
Okay.
All right, and I'll be blunt with that. Because if people don't send it to me basically 3 times, because I have groups that I'm involved with, I know the groups. Some of them block me, some of them don't because they don't like what I say because they believe in their religious persecution instead of what reality is. But my email is simple. It's all lowercase. Ed Johnston, 2003 at yahoo.com.
I got it. Thank you.
So, but send it to me 3 times. Put in the message. You got an idea or talk show or something in it. You know, because I do get people try to email me and stuff, and I do research on people. I don't trust anybody. I don't even trust my own mother and father. I wouldn't even trust my brother, sister, or the dog next door. Well, I trust the dog next door better than I trust any human. You know? I'll take a vicious dog any day over a human because I could always get a vicious dog to roll over and rub his belly.
I hear you.
You know? I mean, no offense, people, but, you know, we've all been through the walk of life, and we've all been through certain things of life. So, anyhow, next caller, go ahead, please.
What's the definition of a human, Ed? That's a 2-syllable word. I wonder if you knew.
There's no definition. I mean, they changed that on let's see, on the Farm Bill, Chapter 7, Subchapter 6, Subchapter 2 at 136D, man's an animal.
Thank you.
That's also too, Title 7, 136, Section D.
Before he was an animal, he was a colorful monster. So I don't know if there's
that's true. But don't forget, that goes back to Roman days. That's what the Romans called themselves.
Colorful monsters?
Yes, that was part of the Vatican Church going back in, 16 BC.
Now people like to identify themselves as a person quite often.
Yeah, but a person is an inanimate object. It don't exist. It's a dead entity.
I understand. I understand.
Ron, you comprehend.
I comprehend.
I was about ready to say, hey, if you stand under, good luck with that.
I don't understand, but I can slip up on a call like this, but I don't ever let anybody get that word over on me. But I do comprehend what you're saying. Thank you, though. It's good to keep me on my toes.
No problem. That's the whole point with all these calls me and Dave are doing. So we keep ourselves on our toes. We keep everybody else on their toes. Because, see, we got all these other groups, and I've got guys out there, you know, I'm not going to get into names, but they've slammed us. They've done all this stuff. And a lot of these guys, when they've had people file their paperwork, a lot of these people ended up getting fined or in jail. Go ahead. There was some feedback. Go ahead. Okay, I'll finish. Thank you for muting. So, I mean, we know Dave and I have witnessed a lot of things going on. I've had people trying to attack us on stuff that have gone on, and, you know, they can't. And a lot of things that people have gone and followed, a lot of these other people ended up in jail. Now, and everybody goes, oh, you don't do this, or don't forget, oh, you're national. Well, if you read Executive Order 2040, if you claim to be a citizen or a national, that means you're an enemy to we the people. And this is where people don't comprehend this. And when they go to court and then they wonder why all of a sudden they're claiming national and they end up in jail for national, well, I have a national driver's license and I'm supposed to have this, and they say that. And I'm like, you don't get it, because you're claiming under Executive Order 2040 you're a national or citizen. National and citizen are identically the same thing. That's what the birth certificate bond was issued at $630,000. You know, so House Resolution 192 was issued so the bloodline Americans are not supposed to pay the bill because there's no gold and silver in the de facto system that they created that went through in 1933 under the Bankruptcy Act. So, I mean, you know, it is putting all this together so this way, you know, the kids know the truth and the people know the truth. And so when you file these things, it's knowing how to file them correctly. This is what me and Dave, I mean, let me tell you something. Dave has argued with the Supreme Court over in Ohio. And if he was wrong, even the stuff he filed on his own rest of his wife's soul, you know, and the blessing of their life together, but if he didn't know what he was doing, he filed it, he would have been in jail faster than Bruce the Fat. So, you know, it's those things that is knowing what's going on, putting it and using their, like me and Dave, you know, they wrote it. We didn't write it. Using their structure against them, but also, too, we want them, the elected and public servants, to honor their oath of office, because if they don't honor their oath of office, this goes back to the Treaty of 1213 and the Magna Carta everybody wants to bring on this soil from the devil's country of England, okay, and the Bible of England going, oh, we're a country of the Bible. No, we're a country that have been invaded. We are not a country of immigrants. We're a country of terroristic people that invaded this country, bringing their religious, their beliefs, their ideas, and coming to this country and want to bring their structure from their soil to come to on somebody else's land and home, and they want to walk into somebody else's home and tell them how to live in their own home. You come in my home, I have my rules. I come in your home, you have your rules. If I don't abide by your rules, I'm not welcomed, right? Cut and dry, simple. And that's what our Constitution has done, and our Immigration Act, true Immigration Act, has done in this country. Now, we've already experienced this for the last 40 years since the Civil War, because prior to the Civil War, prior to World War II, prior to World War II, you did not come in this country off of Ellis boat without going through heavy screening, and 60% to 70% of the people that came into the country from the 1900s all the way up to 46 or 47 were shipped back. They weren't allowed. It's like the real history, people. We didn't have this open door policy and this structure. That didn't happen realistically until Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy Carter opened that door with elections in Florida, opening the door to Cubans that gave them Social Security for retirement. Social Security was only written and delegated for us Americans, not for foreigners.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
I got something I would like to share with you guys. I don't call myself a person. I call myself a woman. It's what I am. And second of all, Ed, I know for a fact everywhere in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, they do say, who in the world is that? And then they clam up, because I can say from personal experience, I've had a lot of people shut up and leave me alone when I mention your name.
Yeah.
And that's mainly here in Oregon that I get the biggest. comment. I yield.
I know, I've been around the block more than once. I've been through more than one case. One of the biggest cases that was successful is the Pamela and Will Gaston case. They raped a little 7-year-old child, the state of Oregon did. Oh, foster parents and the caseworker was involved. The biggest $500 million lawsuit ever won in history, basically, against DHS, realistically, in 48 states. For $500 million. I know, I walked through that with these people. Not only that, I was their minister. I married them. I performed the services, even with the one wake I did, too, over Pamela when she was poisoned. So I do know this is reality. So, but the point is that we shouldn't be afraid of them. Once we start putting numbers together and we're signing affidavits, because see, once we start putting affidavits together and you believe what I'm signing and I believe what you're signing. Oh, did I say signing? I meant autograph. Because anybody who signs is an inanimate object, and anytime you have a paper that says signature on it, you blacken it out. You always autograph with red ink. You know, you always want to use red ink. Either you want to do a thumbprint, left or right thumbprint, depends on if you don't, if you're amputee or whatever, you got to use your toes. If you don't got that, your nose. Because your nose has a print that nobody else does. Nobody knows about that one. You know, there are ways to make sure that your instrument has marking.
Oh, speaking of that, Ed.
Go ahead.
The courthouse is very upset that I actually put blood on my paperwork with my autograph.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. Which court case are we talking here?
The Idaho criminal case.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, yeah, because I know they were going to freak out on that.
They are very, very upset with me about that.
Okay, so when is the hearing coming up for you to get the one child back?
I won that. They're in the process right now for my son.
No, it should have been already happening. It shouldn't take a month.
They are transitioning him back. They've increased visitation so far.
Okay. But you need to give me some more things on that because, like I said, I know a couple things I sent out on that issue. Yeah, and that's the one thing that, you know, I mean, you and I have had some miscommunications, I'll put it that way. But I told you, you know, when this starts rolling, go ahead.
Okay, one thing that was admitted in the court document that I received in April, and I did forward that email to you with the court document, it specifically stated, in none of my cases going clear back to 1998 did they ever prove there was any abuse or neglect on any of my children.
Could that have been by the 33-page written instrument I sent them all?
That could have been. All I know is that
you read all 33 pages when I sent them all that. I know they freaked out because that's when everybody starts going, who the hell is this guy? What is he doing in this?
And they said my son is to be reunited with me.
Mm-hmm.
And you should have that. I forwarded that back in March.
Okay, no, I read part of that. And I knew that was happening, but see, it's May. You guys should have already been united.
We haven't yet. We are getting 8 hours.
You're not hearing me. Don't give me excuses. I'm trying to get you on a point that the next letter has to go. But see, not only that, we've got this other issue going on. You haven't given me the rest of the stuff on that so I can respond. Because I've already talked to the police chief, the damn mayor, and the city council, and they're panicking, going, why the fuck do you want anything to do with us?
And that's what I have to send you tomorrow.
Well, I know. I'm just telling you because, see, I don't have compassion. I love blood. Okay?
At this point, I'm out for blood, too, after being damaged.
Well, what they did to me and my former fiance and the kids, and I sat there and told the woman one day, and the woman didn't comprehend a damn thing I said. That's no offense, but women don't listen to men sometimes because they go through emotions and, my emotions or my feelers are up.
I can admit that. We do it.
I know, but that's why women get upset at men, because they do reactions and then they wonder what, why, and how instead of listening why.
But I am learning.
So, but we need to get the uniting going now also, too. The point that I don't want to get on the air here, but I'm going to bring up, are you stable at this point or are you not stable? You got my drift?
I have a home, I have an income, and my rent's paid for the next 6 months.
Okay, that's the point. Okay, and it's the one thing, folks. You always want to pay things in advance until you get them off the system. Okay, I'm getting ready to go fight the state and county on, I've been on my land 20 years. I don't pay shit. Well, I pay shit when I flush the toilet because I pay the city water at this point because we're still working on 7310, getting that filed so this way we don't have an issue because these guys are all panicking. And remember, I mean, I've gone and recalled even bankers in the past of my life and public officials. You know, so I have a unique reputation because I've gone after these people to their own family, and I'm going after the governor right now, and I'll be finishing filing the treason charges on her to be filed, and I got to refile the recall because a month ago when I filed the recall, the Secretary of State employees were telling me, oh, we can't deal with this until May, Ed, May. This is after the Senate session. Senate session's got 6 weeks left. I got to get this other stuff filed. And the media's panicking because the media knows if they actually run this, they're going to lose 30% of their income because, if the government actually gets decided and drops back 30%, that means the 30% is going to reduce in the newspaper's income. Folks, you got to realize that with the structure of your system, we own them. But they have built the media and printing companies and all this structure where everybody's getting a cut of the pie, all right? And remember, the saddest thing is that 30% of the income that is going out of this country, right here in our own areas, 30% is going out to foreign structures. If we cut off that, that's going to reduce our property tax, your property taxes and everything. You know, it's knowing how it works compared to what we think it is.
If I may, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we do have one other caller in the Q&A session waiting. It's a 503 number.
Oh, okay, we'll bring Ron back in. Go ahead, Ron. Is that Ron or not?
Oh, this is Daniel.
Oh, hey, Daniel. How you doing?
Better than I look, as usual.
503. I thought you were 530.
No, I'm 304.
Oh, okay. But go ahead, Daniel, because we already had a topic that you and I talked about that I wanted to bring in. So your floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I went down and talked to these fascists earlier this last week.
Explain the beginning, how, what, why, before you get to talking to the fascists.
Okay. Well, I turned 65, and they tell me I have to sign up for. I'm required to sign up for Medicare or I'll be fined. I went down and asked to see a copy of the contract, and they told me that there was no contract. And I asked them, I said, what is this, unconditional surrender? What are the terms and conditions? And they kept arguing there was no contract, but they want me to sign up for it. And that's my first subject. And the second subject is this conspiracy to interfere with justice that we filed a complaint on back in 2014. Now, if we come back and file a claim, the West Virginia Supreme Court covered that up. the West Virginia State Police refused to take charges against the actors of the state. The U.S. Attorney's Office said only if an actor of the state brought charges would they accept charges. But we have proof of conspiracy to interfere with justice. The West Virginia Supreme Court covered it up, committed misprisal felony, and whenever that was brought before them, they threw it in the garbage can. This has been going on for quite a while, but if I take this complaint and bring it back as a claim, you think it'll go somewhere, or you think it'll go right in the garbage can again?
Dave, do you want to comment on that first?
I didn't catch all the question. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. Bring it back up, Daniel. And the main point is bring up what they said to you is what I want people to comprehend.
Oh, on the Social Security?
Yeah.
The Social Security said there is no contract. They want me to sign up without a contract. And I asked them, is this unconditional surrender? And they wouldn't discuss it. They just said there is no contract. And I asked them for my original Social Security insurance contract. And they said there is none. And I said, I recall signing it. I was only 17, but I recall signing it. I recall stewing over it and being told that I couldn't work unless I signed it. And they say there is no contract. Now they want me to sign up for Medicare without a contract.
No.
That's one subject, but the other subject is the conspiracy to interfere with justice, the ex parte letter to the judge that we have proof of. We have a copy of it.
If they are forcing you to divulge your Social Security number, that's a violation of 42 at 408A8. They can, you can file criminal charges against them for that. And if convicted, they spend the next 5 years in jail.
42 at what?
Title 42.
Yeah.
408.
408.
Yeah, 408, round brackets, A, small letter A, round brackets, 8. If they force you to give your Social Security number, you can file criminal charges against them. They can go to jail upon conviction for 5 years and plus fines and penalties.
Okay. Well, I needed that for my bank.
They need to be informed of that. If they wish to continue this crap, you will be more than happy to file charges. Because the law says you are not required to give your Social Security number to anyone. That includes the credit bureaus.
That includes the jail, DHS, anybody else.
Yeah, every government form I have looked at in the last, I'm going to say 4 months, the first question, what is your Social Security number or your EIN number?
Well, let's get back to the next question. This conspiracy to interfere with justice, we have a copy of the letter that was written by the CPS worker.
Okay.
And it was held in secret. We attempted to file a criminal complaint.
Mm-hmm.
The state police refused the criminal complaint. We called Internal Affairs, and he came out and said it was administrative, but I told him, I says, well, if I'm sitting there in a hearing and I reach up and punch the judge in the nose, is it still administrative? And he didn't answer that, but we did attempt to file charges with the West Virginia Supreme Court. We attempted to file charges with the United States Attorney's Office. We attempted to file charges with the U.S. Attorney's Office. And when we brought it before the 4th District Federal Court, they said, oh, it's just a little slander. But it said in the 3rd paragraph that the letter was written with the intent of influencing the judge's decision-making process. And the only other thing that was true in it was the author's name, the date, and the fact that it was written with the intent of influencing the judge's decision-making process. Then throughout the case, they held the adoption case in secret under a secret case number and held us in abuse and neglect after the defendant was dead. You think if I come back with a criminal claim, it'll make a difference on that complaint? You there?
Yeah.
You think it'll make a difference if I come back with a criminal claim instead of a criminal complaint? Because the West Virginia Supreme Court threw it in the garbage when they were cited for misprision of felony.
Well, it actually, I think it's the 16th American Jurisprudence states that you must notify the nearest court of a criminal act. And by filing a criminal complaint within that court, if the court takes no action, that is misprisons. That is honest service fraud. That is breach of public trust.
Well, they didn't seem to care.
Of course not. They're practicing British law in American courts. That's the difference between the lawful system and the legal system.
Where is that at in 16th jurisprudence?
16th American Jurisprudence.
Yes.
Second edition, section 177.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
they write laws that have the appearance of law, but in reality are no law at all. No one's obligated to obey it. And what they're trying to do is get you into their courts, which are pseudo-corporate courts, because all the states went into bankruptcy and were forced into the corporation in the Bankruptcy Act of 1933.
Well, how do I get this before a grand jury?
Write the grand jury care of your county.
Well, the grand jury here is appointed by the executive administrator.
No, he didn't say that. He said write the grand jury. He didn't ask you to write who appointed them.
No, I'm telling you they are appointed by the executive. I know, you're telling me you're not hearing. I am hearing, Ed. I'm hearing that they are the allies of the executive administrator, and they are appointed by him. No, you write the grand jury. The chair of the grand jury, him or herself. Okay, well, he's appointed by the man they call a judge here. Doesn't matter if he's appointed or not. It goes to the head of the grand jury. That's the way it has to be written. You go through the judge, he can decide. You don't want him to decide. Okay. Well, what I'm telling you is it's people he appointed. I know what I'm telling you. I know the bullshit. I very well know this extremely well. And if you're going to let the judge tell you what's going on instead of addressing the man or woman that's the head of the grand jury, you want to address the head of the grand jury. But you don't quite comprehend what I'm trying to say, Ed. He decides who's on the grand jury. No, there is one head grand jury for every county and every state. There's one head. He does not decide. It's already been decided. Whoever's appointed is already there. He can't appoint a new one. There's already one there as standard. Does that make sense? It makes sense that that's the way it would be, but that isn't the way it works here. The judge appoints the grand jury here. Write to the head of the grand jury and then see what happens. Okay, will do. Don't write to the judge, write to the head of the grand jury. If the judge interferes with that information, that's a federal crime. Well, they don't seem to care about federal crimes here at all, Ed. They do.
If I may.
Because if you do it in the mail, it becomes federal, and that's a federal mail crime, and yes, they do care. That goes in front of the Inspector General of the Post Office, and that is not a government agency. Well, the 4th District Court of the United States covered up a felony here. Mm-hmm. They committed misprision of felony.
and they separated all the evidence from the case, said the case was frivolous without the evidence. There was 28 affidavits. They separated the affidavits from the case, said the case was frivolous without the evidence, and refused the case. So, anyway, I'll try it. It can't hurt anything. It just takes time.
And the other point is now you have it recorded and record.
Well, the record's kind of funny here. They threw the criminal complaints against the Supreme Court in the garbage can. And it was done by the Supreme Court's attorney, who holds no oath of office, who also answers as the clerk of the Supreme Court.
But that had to have been filed back on the attorney, and if a judge got that and realized the attorney got it, the judge ain't going to back up the attorney because he loses his retirement. That's by their own administration rules in 48 states.
That's how you verify how they get the money from the 3-1 federal.
Some of these guys do know it.
3-1 federal funding.
Believe me, they're not in their position for no reason.
Okay, well, how do I get the information on this 3-1 federal funding these judges are getting and these payoffs that these judges are getting for throwing these adoptions?
Well, actually, Dave, do you have that one that we posted up a while back ago that was in that one case?
I'm going to have to look for it because I don't remember exactly where we put it.
Okay, yeah, I got that one.
Well, I'll try to get emails set up this week. I just got back. I got back yesterday morning about 1:30 in the morning.
Okay.
So, I'll try to get emails set up this week and get going again. I just got back from the Texas State, the soil of Texas State.
Okay.
And I had some interesting conversations there with some so-called judges who said they were circuit judges, and I said, so you're the executive administrator for the State of Texas Corporation? He says, you're right.
Don't you when you nail it?
Say what?
I said, don't you like it when you nail it?
Well, then I went ahead and told him I was familiar with FE versus GE, and he said he wasn't. I said, well, you need to know the case that determines your status. And he was trying to give me a funny look. And then I went ahead and explained to him I'd never been in the state of Texas, that I was on the soil of Texas State, that I was not a corporate member, and I was not a citizen. And he says, you're right. But then pretty quick, he didn't want to talk to me anymore. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk again, Ed, and maybe we can get this thing together where I can actually do something with it, because I've fought this thing for over 3 years now. They stole this child. They held adoption in a secret case number and held us in abuse and neglect, and the defendant was dead.
Right. Using the terminology from the Bible. You're fighting the Bible with the Bible. These people go by the Bible. They don't give a damn about your religious beliefs, because their religious belief is yours and your religious belief is theirs. They know if you're going to use it, you're going to lose.
Well, I used much more than that, Ed, and they didn't care about criminal charges at all. There was no such thing. They don't care about criminal charges here. They just cover them up.
I know, but at least the one thing is here, I don't have to worry about it. They can threaten me, but I'm still doing what I'm doing. They poison me doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, they not threatened us. They killed Nancy's daughter, and then renamed the baby after the cop that was the state police that covered up the death.
Yeah. But see, all that needs to be put in an affidavit, and those around need to sit there and autograph it. And yeah, I mentioned that before. Yeah.
Well, affidavits has been filed. It didn't do any good. They just ignore them.
Oh, but I told you, you don't file it in that damn court of that damn state. What state did I tell you to file it in?
You said Pennsylvania.
Or in Washington, D.C. under administration rules, and that's how it works. You got to realize that these guys cover up their bodies. They don't love you. They don't even love their own children. And once you guys quit teaching the Bible and accept that these people don't give a damn about the Bible, they don't have emotions, they have no compassions, they don't give a damn about you.
They're beasts. They're humans. They're beasts. I recognize that.
Right, you don't recognize it, but they do. And people go, well, they should have feelings. No, they don't, folks. Wake up to reality.
Okay. Well, I'll let somebody else have the floor.
Fighting the devil with his own structure.
May I?
The devil wrote the Bible. You're fighting the devil with his structure.
Somebody else is saying, may I, Ed?
Go ahead, may I?
Ed, not only do they not care about us, but some of the social workers out there don't even have children of their own, as we've found out.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they do 2 cases at once. They run a sealed, hidden adoption at the same time as they're doing a what they call dependency case, no matter what state you're in. And they do it for dual profit, as we've already come to the conclusion of. And it doesn't matter because the judge is in with the caseworker to make a profit. The public pretenders, because I'm going to call them what they are, they're in it with the attorneys. And as is very familiar with, I had a public pretender who got busted for another DUI who represented me, and he threw my case purposely, and the appellant court signed falsified documentation that was fraudulent. And we all know the Presley-Harwick case actually said you can't do that. And I can't believe I have a panel of 3 judges who signed false information, on top of the 3 judges who screwed up my case in the first place. So now we've got a clear one.
The complaining witness was a paid witness on behalf of CPS.
And they do that.
And she had never seen the mother, the child, or the backpack she described.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that. They give them all the details and pay them the money to falsify. And there is a case under Presley-Harwick versus Virkin where, and it was just signed into law in the Ninth Circuit Court in January of this year. And I had it the same day it was signed. And it specifically said even the person with the IQ of the room temperature in Alaska during the winter knows you can't do it.
Well, my phone number is still 304-992-1592.
State your name so that way she knows who you are.
I'm Daniel.
Nice to meet you, Daniel. I'm Melissa.
And don't
Please
get any
meet you, Martha.
Daniel.
What?
Don't get any prettier.
Well, I'm still going to just stay ugly. I'm old and ugly. I'm not going to show up in pink high heels and a purple miniskirt.
I thought that was my job.
It's not mine. It's not mine.
But there's another case I'm looking for, too. And Melissa, repeat that case so people got that repeated on record so that way they hear it a couple times so that way they get that one, because that was one that you sent us that we got out too.
That is the case of Presley-Harwick versus Virkin, where the social worker took the children from the mother. The mother won a lawsuit of over $4 million, and this was done in the state of California. It was taken to the Ninth Circuit Court, and it was put around on Facebook as the caseworker's right to lie, where caseworkers tried to get the courts to okay a social worker to be able to fabricate evidence, falsify legal testimony and documents, and to perjure themselves and not get in trouble for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the judge slapped them hard with it that the child won her case. She gets to sue them in civil court. They lost their judicial immunity once they crossed that line.
Well, we have a problem here with no court record. The judge controls the record of the court, and out of the 22 transcripts we requested, we was only allowed 2, and they weren't accurate.
At least you were allowed some. In my case, Ed will tell you, I have been denied not once, but 4 times on anything out of my record.
Yeah, now when I emailed them, they all panicked. Why the hell are you here, Ed?
Still no records to this day.
Well, if you'll give me a call, I'd appreciate it very much.
But see, this is the point that I've been saying to people. You've got to know what's going on with your case. You have to know if you're lawful or legal in this country, because you have to know how to stand in court. You have to know, as it says. Go ahead, Dave.
I think basically from what I know about Children's Protection Services, the family courts, and the fact that the Children's Services agent, for every child she gets out of the home, she is rewarded $7,500, and the judge, for every child he takes from the home, gets $125,000, and it's all taken from Social Security funding.
Where can I find documentation on that?
To me, that's conflict of interest. Yes, there is documentation on that.
Where can I find it?
I will have to dig it up for you.
Okay, we'll get some internet going here, and you have my phone number too, Dave.
Could you repeat that again for me?
My phone number is 304 992
992
1592.
1592.
1592.
I actually filed that information in a court case.
Yeah, and also remember, everything here is Fourth Amendment protected, but it's public. We are speaking on a public domain. That way you respect our rights, we respect your rights. This is not a democracy of bullshit. This is a republic of people talking with honorable intentions here. So you respect us, we respect you. If not, like I said to the Pope, I'm praying for thy soul to be collected. And type in, who's the only barbarian who ever filed on souls anywhere in the world to be collected. There's only one other man in the world who's ever done that. Do your research. Look at it. You might be surprised. This goes back a few thousand years.
Didn't they take his head off, Ed?
Huh?
Didn't they take the last guy's head off?
No, actually, he lived to a ripe old age.
Oh, I thought they decapitated him.
Oh, now when he filed on the souls and owned all the souls because he owned everything, so they weren't going to screw with him because they couldn't get over the army of his wall to his home. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, okay.
I'll let you go. Bye-bye. I'm out.
Speak up, please.
Okay, Ed. This is Ronald again. I was just wondering with these folks that have been sharing about their story of Children's Services, which you well know better than I how deeply involved Pamela Gaston was in that child trafficking organization in every so-called state. But would it make a difference if one were to ask, well, first of all, does the fact that these children have birth certificates create a problem? 2, does it create a problem if there's a marriage license involved? And 3, unless, now this is a comment with a kind of a question built into it, but I feel unless these people, or I, am questioning the administrator in the black robe, as the one man pointed out, the executive administrative officer for the bankruptcy, is questioned as to which jurisdiction he is seated in, and does one have all of their constitutional rights from the original jurisdiction? Are they ever going to be able to win or stop them in their tracks? Or does that even matter if one can compromise himself that much with it? And then fourth, having to do with the 12 presumptions, if I'm not rebutting those, how can I expect there to be a court of record when it is all, and this is a comment, a statement, private bar business of the lawyers, gilding?
Okay, now number one...
I'll mute myself now and listen off the air here.
All right, number one, the birth certificate has a lot to play with it because you register your child with the state. You're registering your child with a Social Security number. Even in the hospital administrative rules, doesn't say you have to file a Social Security number in the damn hospital. All it says is to register your kid. And that's technically with the hospital, so their insurance policy is covered on the child. But then they rewrite the insurance policy and pass that off through the birth certificate. That has a lot to do with it. The birth certificate bond is a reality. Okay, number two, with Pam and Will with their case. Yes, that had a lot to do with it. They won a $500 million lawsuit against the state. All right? When they won it, I went through the court proceedings. And with the marriage license, I'll get to that because I'm the one who married them personally. I did their wedding services, and I did Pamela's wake. So I was involved in everything from the beginning to end, and Will, I don't know if he's gone or not because I haven't talked to Will personally, and it's been almost 3 years since I sat in front of Will. The last time I went to visit Will, I went to him at the house he was living at, and when I walked in, after me being in the house for 10 minutes, the owner of the house comes up and says, "You have to leave," and I'm like, and Will's looking at her going, "Well, why does he have to live?" "Well, we don't allow guns in our home." I had my arm on my hip because I wear my arms. And I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "You have a gun. We don't allow guns here." And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell does that have to do with it? Everybody's terrified of guns. And Will's like, "Well, I can't argue with her because I'm here unprivileged." So, I'm like, no problem. So I sort of ended our visit real quick because, to me, if people are afraid of an arm, that's what concerns me because we've been so mentally programmed by TV and society itself, by your neighbors, your brother, sister, mother, because everybody reacts as instead of having faith, because if there's an arm, we shouldn't be afraid of the gun, we should be afraid of the man or woman who has it. I would much rather see everybody carry an arm because then that way, what's going to happen to crime rate? None.
Well, you heard what happened in Great Britain, didn't you, Ed?
On which one?
The British government now wants their citizens.
Oh yeah, the police department. Yeah, the British police department came out on national news 3 or 4 weeks ago after that Muslim who shot all the bobbies. The head of Scotland Yard came out and demanded to be armed by the Queen of England for the Queen to start paying arms to the Scotland Yard. Because they got mowed down by a Muslim who just shot, I think it was like a dozen bobbies down, and a few other citizens where Dave was bringing up that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's like, yeah, because, see, we shouldn't be afraid of a gun. We should be afraid of the idiots. And once all the idiots are shot up and they're gone out of the world, and we have back to common sense and compassionate, understanding people, we can live again. And then that way, I do agree with somewhat of a background check, and I will tell you my point of view with that, to a degree. It should be done locally, but, the people who need to locally know is the people locally in that structure. If some guy has a drinking issue that he's not being responsible, or he has a real mental issue, not the psychological crap they play on people for the financial gain, You know, we could know that. We knew that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s growing up in the Bay Area. We knew who to trust, who had guns, who didn't have guns. I grew up in the Bay Area. I knew who carried concealed guns. You could tell the way they walked. You could tell the way they acted. You know, I mean, I knew all this stuff, and I thought everybody instinctively knew this type of stuff. But it wasn't until I got older in life that I realized that I knew probably 80% more than the average man and woman did about the reality around them. Because I didn't get lost in TV, movies, movie stars, fantasy of books and poems and all that other stuff. I paid attention to what was going on around me. So, but yes, the marriage license has a lot to do with that. And I'm going to tell you, it really does. And I'm going to have David bring up a point when he's going through that, so that way you can see where he's going through on this issue. He's nailing them where they're panicking on. Okay? And then I'll get back to the other question here. But I want you got valid questions here. And yes, they are. But if you don't claim that you're lawful or legal and know your bloodline in, because when you go to court, if you get appointed a public pretender, the public pretender has to walk in with the corporation charter. That was done by, what was that, President John F. Kennedy, all right? That was done when he did not register under, what was that, the Foreign Administration Act of 1933, so the Democrats, the British Bar, tried to put him in prison over that. The Supreme Court said that they had to walk in with the charter of the corporation to prove it. So when you write your charter for your birth certificate, bond, and own you and claim you, isn't that your charter of your corporation because your birth certificate is a corporation? Bingo. How simple could that be? Here's my charter, folks. They're going, oh, no, where's your birth certificate? Well, you take your birth certificate to court. What do you want, the charter or the birth certificate? I walked into court with my birth certificate twice, and everybody panicked and told me to get the hell out of the building. They were scared of that piece of paper I had in my hand. So, but Dave, bring them up on the point that you're going through with that one.
Well, what I did was I filed a case into probate court demanding my my bonds for the certificate of live birth and the birth certificate. They panicked. I am still waiting for a response from the Department of Treasury relating to the bonds, or I should say insurance policies for those. I know where the bonds are kept. They're kept at the Tower of Power across from the Federal Reserve Bank on River Street in New York City. That's where all the birth certificate bonds are kept.
Well, bring up a point with your farmer.
My farmer.
No, your farmer, your wife is where I was going with what you're doing with that, where they're panicking. That's part of what he's going through.
When my wife passed, I claimed her bonds. And I sent it to Congress, and it was ignored, so I sent it to an office over in Chicago, and I was ignored again. So right now I've claimed my bonds, my wife's bonds, but yet I've never had anyone who is willing to stand up and hand them over, because they're so used to stealing these from you. That's why they declared the citizen dead, and you're declared dead as soon as your birth certificate's issued. The county coroner declares you dead. That way they can steal the bond, and then the Congress declared the citizen dead, and you're considered a state citizen. So, you know, that way when you die, you're not supposed to know you're able to claim these bonds. So when you claim them, then they panic, because that means they can't profiteer from public office.
And see, this was part of the structure that we were working with Will on it, but it didn't get to that point because, see, Will got panicky after the lawsuit when Pamela got poisoned, and I think you know what I'm talking about there, Ron. So anyhow, when all that transpired, you know, Will didn't want to go get the money, and then a couple years back, his daughter, his people and his kids finally said, "Let's go for it, Dad." That's when I was talking to him, and that was the last conversation I had when I got rushed out of the place he was living. So it's been almost 3 years since the last time I've seen, talked to him, or heard from him, and I'm about ready to call the police department in the town he lives in to see if he's still around or not, because I know he won a $13.8 million lawsuit against the police department itself, too. So basically, it's Mount Angel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I thought we were still in it.
All participants are unmuted. Q&A session is over.
Okay, anybody else wants to speak up? The floor is yours. Okay, I guess we already got through all that then.
No,
well, if we're going to get to that point, why don't we look at probably wrapping it up? I'd like to thank our guests and the people that joined us. And remember, Dave and I are not attorneys. We are not lawyers. We are just guys that read the stuff. And, you know, trust me, I'm hanging on that Turner truck. I was hit by the bumper. I'm not letting him go with the bumper. It's a hell of a ride, but at least I know I'm safe. You know? So, go ahead. Oh, by the way, I wanted to bring in this one other court that, what was the court case here? Let me make sure if that was already brought in or not. Was that the one? Did you talk about triaxle and Granville case at all, Melissa?
No, I did not.
Okay, the Supreme Court ruled that there is a presumption that the parent acts in the children's best interest, not child protection, CPS, or the state. I mean, the parent does, not the CPS or the child. The United States courts have stated that this is a presumption that parents act in the children's best interest. This is Parham versus J.R. 442, excuse me, U.S.584, parenthesis, 602 case. There is normally no reason to compel the interest for the state to inject itself in the private realm of the family to further question a parent's ability to make the best decisions regarding their own child. Reno Flores, 507, U.S. 292, parenthesis, 304. The state may not interfere in the child raising decision when a parent is available.
May I?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yet they do that on a consistent basis, and they've done that to me since 1998.
And this is, who's this one?
Melissa.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I know that. But see, also too, Melissa, you had no disrespect, but see, look at your knowledge then compared to what you've knowledge now, and it's like, shit, if they actually taught me different things in school and shit that I was supposed to be educated, I would have never gone through different things.
Well, Ed,
Exactly.
what he went through is nothing short of a violation of Hale versus Hinkle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Ed, for your and Dave's information, I was just ordered last week to get a passport for my daughter so she could go to Canada for the summer. And for next school year, she can go to school abroad.
No.
Or the foster parents will step in and do it for me.
No, I told you need to send me things because you need to file an instrument you and I talked about 5 months ago.
Yes, I need to
Okay,
get off my
but
butt.
see, if you're not in regular communications, I can't do certain things because I run off of dozens of things in every given hour or day. So, you know, I have to go right with what's going on right there at the time to backtrack to get what's going on.
That is true.
You know, so, I mean, I don't work on anybody's schedule. I worked on the Great Fair schedule because I have no idea what I'm doing tomorrow compared to right now. Right now I know because I'm living it. Tomorrow I don't know because I haven't woke up yet and dealt with it.
And
That's
Ed,
true.
Ed and
Great.
I are in the
A
same
little more
boat.
years.
We get thousands of emails a day trying to keep up with our research and trying to do the show and everything else. We are busy.
Plus I do other talk shows too.
Uh-huh.
You know, I do more than just this. So, Tony, I'm going to be sending you some information here in a minute. But, see, this is the point that, you know, it's putting these things in order, you know, because, see, I don't work on a schedule per se. I can't work on a schedule. It's not the way I live. I mean, even before my neck was broken, I lived on somewhat of an employment schedule, but I didn't live on a schedule. You know, I mean, anybody who knew me, I didn't live on a schedule. And coming past some of my past industries I was in, I ran security and bodyguard, man. I was on the clock all the time, basically.
Uh-huh.
You know, so, I mean, I was on a different playing field than most.
Anyone who knows Ed knows that he will run 24 hours or better a day. So,
Of course, that's why I think I'm on nitroglycerin and oxygen, too.
So
Had to go back.
I did want to bring up
other
one other
stuff.
thing, Ed, that we need to get this 800 number up and running for the
Yeah,
show.
that's something. We need to start getting that up and running. We need to try to get some help with some funds coming up to get that running. You know, I mean, we don't want your money, folks. We'll let you pay the bill on it if you would be willing to help to pay, you know, 6 months or a year on something. I don't want your money. I was like the recall I'm doing on the governor. I was getting ready to fill out the other paperwork. I don't want the money. I'm not going after the money, and this is what's going to freak them out because I don't want the money going after the governor. She destroyed my life. She was part of the structure 10 years ago. Well, what was that? 2005, who attacked me and everything. So I just want, you know, I don't care. I mean, I gave up. I know my health condition. I just want to know that they had major suffering before they died and pain and suffering, you know, and I'll just collect their souls.
Ed and I do not charge for anything, the information we give to you, the research we've done, or anything else. But what we are asking for is the listeners who would like to help out and help us get this 800 number. We do not want to take your money. We want you to pay it directly to the 800 carrier, which we will definitely turn around and get you that information. This way they cannot come after us and say, well, you're engaged in commerce. No, we're not, and we don't ever intend to be. That's the reason everything that you get from us is free, gratis. They cannot get us for practicing law without a license or anything else. Get it?
Even though that you don't need a license to be an attorney in court, and that's what it says by their own admission in court law, but we're not going to walk the tightrope.
Right.
We watch too many other people fall by the wayside walking that tightrope. We're not going to do it. Go ahead, May.
So I went to the DMV today, and I had to replace my traveler's card, as I'm going to call it, because I've got to get a job driving soon. Anyway, on the paperwork, they did not have where it says U.S. citizen or non-U.S. citizen.
Doesn't matter. You have to write it in. You're the adult. It's your contract. You have to write the contract, not them.
And then I still got my affidavit next to me that I still...
Hey, you don't even worry about filing that with them. You go in, you fill out their paperwork, you see line 2, you scratch off, and you say lawful bloodline American. You put a box there and check it.
Oh, okay, well...
Out of you, no offense, but I know, I don't tell everybody, this is what I do. I go in and I change these forms this way. I alter them. And people look at me and they tell me, well, you can't do that. And I said, is this a contract?
I yelled.
Is this a legal form? They go, well, yeah, it's a legal form. I said, well, if it's a legal form, it's a contract, so I'm allowed to alter it because you're asking me. And I said, so in other words, are you conspiring with the people that are getting this information? And 99% of the time, the man or woman say, I don't know what you're talking about. And I just stretch that out. I put autograph, and I autograph, and I walk out. I have my copy. They have their copy. They're not going to put their ass in the line of fire. You got to be
I alter their documents
when you go bear hunting. What it really comes down to, my friend, you have to be smarter than the bear when you go hunting. So you have to change and alter the contract as fast as you can in red ink. And then that way it's done in red ink. Okay, then it says Social Security number. You put USC 4042. All right, 408, parentheses D. And you leave it the way it is. They're going to go, was that your Social Security number? When all you do is say yes. You don't explain a goddamn thing to them. 90% of them know it. They're not going to ask you that. Because once it's in the file, it's out of their hands. They ain't that stupid. They are trained. It's like a court clerk. And everybody goes, oh, the court clerk doesn't know this. Yes, they do. They're trained. They know it.
They're ballisters.
That's how they make their de facto government money off of the Bankruptcy Act of 1933. Apparently you guys don't read the instruments that me and Dave file. You don't read the stuff that me and Dave read. So, once you read this stuff, then all of a sudden you go, holy shit, they go, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. I would be that lately.
Right now, but the thing is that I know I'm not going to get shot right now for getting what I'm doing right now with all of us. They've already threatened to shoot me. Okay, got it. Because now I'm recalling the governor. They're panicking over that. The news media and shit, and people in the state are panicking over it. People know who I am on the West Coast. I'm not just a slump. I'm a guy that's made national headlines, including in the New York Times. So you guys have to realize that, with a lot of these court cases and these big court cases, I'm the guy that, with some of them, was in the back room on these things. For the last 25 years, I'm the guy in the back room on a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not going to tell you this stuff. I don't want you to know. I like living. That's why they started poisoning me. That's why they wanted me to die with a heart attack and did all the other stuff they did to me. By the grace of the Great Spirit, I'm here. When they went after and attacked my family, I could have sat there and sold the company store one way or the other. Sorry, I'm a man. I ain't going to do that. If the woman is not going to stand by my side, I cannot sell my soul. It's that simple. I'm still on my land. I've been on my land 20 years. I'm not going to get off my land. Like I made it publicized in the newspaper. They're going to take me off my land with my dead body. It's been publicized even from the New York Times to the West Coast newspapers. I've been on major talk shows over it. So, I mean, you know, trust me, I'm not saying this stuff to be crazy. I'm telling you the facts. Like Tony, I'm going to be putting this up on her wall. You guys can see what I filed in court and stuff. This stuff, what I'm saying, what I've done, have been actually publicized in newspapers. You know, so it was like, you know, I'm in a court of claims. Oh, I got the court of claims where I filed on the Pope's soul? Think about it, folks. You know, I mean, this is the point. I mean, I might be the guy that's the only guy on the back street corner, but I'm the guy who's owning the street corner. You know, I mean, even when I go, I'm still there. That's what terrifies them, because they can't sit there and live without that because I'm in the back of their mind all the time. You know, Dave is getting that way, too. He's been dealing with the tax structure going back to, what, 85?
2005, Ed.
Oh, 2005, excuse me. So when he's gone through all this stuff, and now people are starting to wake up to the Foreign Registration Act finally. I just got an email from a group of men on this one. And I've been preaching about the Foreign Administration Act around here for 20-something years. And everybody for years called me crazy. Now all of a sudden they're starting to realize what I'm talking about. All of a sudden they're starting to read what I'm saying for themselves, and I love it when people send me court cases and this, that, and the other thing, when I'm the one who provided it to them when it first came out, you know, even 10, 20 years ago. So sometimes it takes we the people to open our eyes later than what's going on, and that's the time that we're at that point, that's up to the man or woman to decide if they have compassion or not. Don't give me Jesus Christ bullshit. Because Jesus Christ in the Bible has nothing to do with that. That is the decision of the man and the woman at that time. Jesus Christ bullshit has nothing to do with it. So, you know, that's when people try to get me on Jesus Christ. Sorry, man, I've been through all that crap. I'm an ordained minister. I know the separation of church and state.
Go into the original Hebrew language and find the J.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you will prove to me that Jesus exists.
Why does the church want to practice Roman law when the first law was Hebrew?
Mm-hmm.
There's also the other aspect, Dave and Ed, that Jesus was, or as you are, or whatever, the time that he would have been alive, he would not have been a white hippie-looking idiot. He would have been more of a black man.
Indian.
More of a, very dark-skinned, closer to black.
He would be dark-skinned, yes.
Yeah, dark-skinned.
So all these who have these pictures of this hippie Jesus, they are effectively having a false idol.
Well, they had to do that because, remember, they've done that. What does that go back? What is that movie with, what the hell's his name? Austin Powers.
Oh, Austin Powers, okay.
Okay, you know, and people get off on this stuff watching British movies. And if you watch tonight late night show today, tonight all the late night show hosts and everything are from England.
Yes, they are.
Hello? I mean, now I'm getting this guy send me stuff of American National Passport. I'll post it. But you're doing a National Passport. National says you are an enemy of we the people. Read the foundation of the country. Read what the Democratic Party put in place.
That's why I don't watch the late shows, Ed.
I get them on YouTube. That's the only time I watch Fallon and all them.
Well, you got to remember that if everybody reads the preamble of the Constitution.
Oh, yeah. Well, they did this whole big deal with daytime.
Here to have nothing to do with the British.
That's right. And they daytime soap opera with all the British, the big damn thing with Fallon, Jimmy Fallon, you know, with his newborn child. And it's like, his child had to have heart surgery. They're making a big deal. I don't give a shit. This man's a rich man. What about the guy that's down the street who their doctors are telling them, if you don't come up with $100,000, your kid is going to die?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that's the point.
Ed.
Well, wait, I want to throw one thing in here, Dave.
Yeah.
This is an argument I hear on talk shows, and I'm getting ready to nail a national talk show this week.
Okay.
Because I put them on alerts the other day, and now I'm going to nail them. Because in the Constitution it says that you are entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
True.
And then all of a sudden we started paying medical insurance going back in this country, territories of, at that point would have been 22 territories. In 1889, we were paying, in some of the areas, actually had medical insurance that was paid what they called property taxes. It was not property taxes. Okay, now all that medical insurance is paid, and even in through the 70s, 80s, 60s, and 50s, and your property taxes paid ambulance covers and medical. That was all covered. So you're going to tell me when the Constitution says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, your medical ain't covered? Well, your medical provides you life, happiness. So explain to me where it's not covered. Interesting point of view we don't think about, huh?
No, explain to me why it isn't covered.
Well, that's the other point, yes. And you don't realize that when you pay your property taxes, a lot of this stuff is already covered in the structure. Okay? But you don't go back and research property taxes going back 30 or 40 years. I've done this. I've had the property taxes going back in my territory in California going back. I used to have all the paperwork going back to 1922 on some of the stuff that was going on. Until a lot of my instruments were burned or thrown away because, family and friends or whatever around my house. I opened my house up, had people in my home, and there was always people that I trusted, including even family. But that was the one thing I learned about family. You can't trust them. Family there's no trust. There's no love. When it comes to money and their Bible and their religious point of view, like I've had people like that tell me, well, Caesar, you shall do what Caesar says, and if you don't do, we have to protect Caesar. And these are Bible thumpers saying this stuff. Your Bible thumpers saying this stuff. Oh, it says it in the Bible. Well, I don't give a shit. Caesar ain't my God. The Great Spirit and Mother Nature is. Remember, without Mother, none of us would be alive today. No one would be alive today.
So true.
Without sperm, the Great Spirit, none of us would be alive today. And if you're a cloned idiot, I pray to God you get in a car accident and get amputated off the head. But, we've got to start realizing they've already cloned people and stuff. This is reality. The technology that people say are not existing today is already existing. All right, our technology is 100 years in advance in most structures, more than what you could even imagine that is a reality. But they keep us fighting and arguing amongst ourselves over titty-tat deals when we should be advancing and be protecting our bloodline and making sure we're all survivable. I know, it's a question. It's one of those things people don't think about. Well, but anyhow, we're almost at 3 hours here, Dave.
Wow. I guess we are.
So I know I got you on that one, so I like to get back to the floor open to people. So if anybody else has a comment or stuff, please bring forward. Like I said, life is a learning experience. And when people do stupid stuff, you can make an amends. That's what it means, making an amends. And that even goes, the only Bible that actually gets into that type of structure is the 1599 Geneva Bible. King James is about mental control, folks. Everybody interprets the Bible. You know this for a fact. Your minister interprets that Bible. What do you think they do called law? The Bible is the law. They interpret it for whatever circumstances that benefits them at the time.
Well, you have to remember, Ed, if they're going to make amends, they got to repent.
Well, you can't make amends without repenting.
Bingo.
I mean, because you have to apologize first and then make your amends. You can't sit there and think that it just happens the way it does. And sometimes people cannot make amends and do the repenting, but at least they make their amends. You have to give them credit for that. 51% is better than 0%. One way of thinking, or looking.
Do we have any more questions? Go.
Okay, well, I guess that we might as well just button this up right now, Dave.
Yep, I agree.
So I'll let you do that. I'm posting some stuff on another wall here, so that way they get some of the structure here. So this way they can sort of see what we're discussing. Go ahead.
Food for thought from tonight's show. We have the Constitution, and what is the chain of command in the Constitution? The Constitution was for the benefit of we, the men and women of this nation, and for our posterity, meaning the generations yet to come. Mm-hmm. So in this Constitution, we created a legislative, executive, and judicial branch of government. Those are dead entities. Comprehend this now. Those are dead entities. They cannot function without either an elected, appointed, or hired public servant. And
hey, Dave, to get away from the Bible in that circumstances, so this way it wasn't run by a religious organization, it was run by man with common sense. Go ahead, Dave.
So, if you comprehend the chain of command, the first lawful unit of the four branches of government is the men and women of the Republic. So you go, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the what? The Republic for which
Thank you!
Not a democracy.
Earlier.
Not a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Very plain, very simple. And why does Congress not want to give me a signed Pledge of Allegiance? And I've asked every stinking one of them. They want nothing to do with the pledge to the flag. Why is that? Would not our most highly favored public servants want to acknowledge the flag of this country? None of them as well will provide me with a signed copy of their oath of office. So they take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States? Prove it.
And Dave, I got to in here. We got videotape of Lincoln County, Oregon, Ed Johnston and Laura Weaver We got judges and district attorneys saying that they don't need an oath of office. They can rape, rob, and pillage us anytime they want. It's on YouTube video. Watch it yourself. This is what we've been... Huh? Would have been nice if you finished, but go ahead.
Yeah, my mom would actually like to make a comment, so I'm gonna pass the floor over to her.
Comment I have for y'all tonight to think about for maybe next show is many laws that have been made over the years and bylaws that have been made since then have become stagnant, and therefore they are no longer should be upheld anyway. Isn't that right?
Yep, we yield.
Yeah, but see, the point of that is so that way it's not done when somebody goes back in administrative rules going, well, this was written 15 years ago or 52 years ago. The only way that you have to do that is challenge it to kill it. Okay? And if you don't challenge it to kill it, that's when these Democrats go back and say, this was written in this time of year, so we're going to use that against you.
Ah, but Ed, thou shalt not kill.
No, I don't give. That's bullshit. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not murder." That's the thing. Thou shalt not murder. You have to kill to eat the fish. You have to kill to eat the squirrel. You got to kill to put the clothes on your back from a deer and elk. So I don't
go into the tirade.
You have to kill and get the skin to make the war drum.
That's right.
Yeah, damn straight. All right, Ed. Here's a question. Can you or Dave, either one, explain and show us where we can go research it, the difference between red ink, blue ink, and black ink?
Oh, just type in red, blue, and black ink of the meaning. It's on the internet. I'll send it to you. We'll put it on I'll send it to you, and we'll get that addressed.
I was going to say also go to your styles manual. It'll tell you in there.
Well, that's true, too, but they don't have it. We'll get that put up. We'll get that put out. I'll get that sent to them. Dave, I think you have that. If you got that handy, email it to me as soon as possible. We'll get that put up tonight.
Which one's up? On the ink?
On the ink, yeah. If you got that handy, send it to me. We'll get that actually put up tonight.
Actually, I'll have to go look it up. I don't think I saved it.
I hope you did, but look it up. Give me a call after the show. We'll get that put up tonight.
Okay.
All right, then that way we've got that one. Then that way that ends one of the arguments on the structure as it is.
Okay.
So, so good point. We'll have that one nailed here within probably an hour, so that way it'll be up and we don't have to deal with it.
According to the bankers, anything in red ink means to stop immediately.
Yeah.
Same with a car dealership. When you're signing a contract and you sign it in red, it means stop immediately.
Yep.
Interesting, isn't it?
And sometimes they won't even give you your car when you sign in red because they go, we can't do that.
That's right.
And the only way you can
rape, rob, and pillage you.
The only way you can do that is pay 100% cash and ask for the manufacturer state of origin. Manufacturer state of origin is a car, motorcycle, boat's birth certificate.
Actually, Ed, if you are purchasing the vehicle, whether you're borrowing the money or not, it still goes in your name.
Well, yeah, but you have to put that in the contract. If it's not in the contract, it's not admissible. I worked in car dealerships. I was a certified mechanic under car dealerships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I told my car dealer about this stuff, he went, yeah, right. I said, yeah, right. If you do it otherwise, I'm going to file on you.
Used to be fun.
And I did. I filed with the Trade Commission on him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
No, I got you on what you're going through, but yeah, no, that's the whole point. It's getting these things so it's clarified, so there's no misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's a mess when you're dealing with a car dealer or you're dealing with the state. You better fully understand or comprehend what you're going through, because they will burn you. You look up the right to travel by ruling by the United States Supreme Court and print it out and carry it with you.
And when you buy a new transportation, you put it in the contract. See, most guys don't know this in the auto industry, and a lot of people say they don't, but there are a lot of them that actually do. It's like cop says, oh, I didn't know that is, and you can always ask a cop, well, I want a copy of your regulations. And they say, well, if I don't have one, you make sure that you want a phone to call a supervisor to report it, because by law in 48 states, if they don't provide you that copy of his police manual, he can be fired. That is part of their union contract.
Mm-hmm. And you have the right by law and ruling of the Supreme Court, for false arrest, you can kill the police officer.
Yes, there are new rulings on that. There's a new ruling that just came last month where the cops raided a guy's house and he killed 2 cops he thought they were burglars. And the Supreme Court just ruled that a cop invades your home without lawfully, basically, bringing a warrant to the door, knocking on your door. They break in the door. The Supreme Court just said 3 weeks ago you could shoot them on sight when they come in your home. And that is on our sites. I put that up on the sites when I came out. And I'm going to be putting that in my other affidavit, too. Because, see, I mean, if we don't start putting this in writing, it's like what the main point. When you get kidnapped or held for ransom, or if you get arrested or charged with legitimate circumstances, if you don't have your rights intact and know how you're standing before you go in that courtroom, you're going to lose. It's your responsibility, not theirs. But see, and people say, well, that's not true. I didn't know this or that. Yes, I agree. It is not fair. It is not true. And no, you should not be penalized for that. But you have to admit and prove you didn't know it at the time. And if you know it, okay, well, how do I deal with it? How do I work on this? What's the best channel to go around? Always keep your mind open, folks. That's the point. Keep your mind open. Don't get tunnel vision, especially with the TV and structure like most people do.
And don't forget the obvious when you go to court, the gold fringe flag. That's color law fraud. That gold fringe flag is a martial law flag unless the gold fringe goes all the way around it, at which time it becomes a war flag. So then you need to ask the judge, who are you at war with?
Mm-hmm.
They're at war with us.
Well, the other point is I put up on the wall, too, on the deal with that deal was, I just put a case up. I just had a brain fart. My mind got on something else on the internet here. That's never happened before. Get me back where we were just jacking on a minute ago. I had a thought, and then it ran off with this other thought that I was trying to respond to somebody else. The flag, yeah. When you go back in the history, like I was bringing up the Confederate flag earlier, the Jack flag, you can look in the real history books, okay? The black flag, the red X flag, the South flies, that originally was 12 stars, not 13. That is the British commercial flag that they fought starting of the Civil War. Okay, and that's the point that people don't, and it's sitting there in downtown London in the museum, that the original flag from that war is sitting in downtown London in their museum. It's on their downtown London museum site. So, like I said, when Dave and I say, research it. We're not staring you wrong. Prove us wrong. We've done the research. Some of this stuff, being fortunate, when I grew up in the Bay Area, a lot of this stuff, I was fortunate to grow up and witness this stuff with the Bay Area that was filed in the Bay Area and stuff, and some of the own history books and the animal structure. That was the one thing, being young, that I was able to go take the bus and go basically spend the afternoons with this.
Well, who signed the contract with the British to have them fund their side of the war? Was that Jefferson Davis?
Say that again?
I say, who was the South's president that signed the contract with the British to bring them into the war? Was that Jefferson Davis?
I believe so, and there was another one too. This is right after they left the March 22nd or March 27th, 1861, when they walked out of secession.
Okay.
And that's why Lincoln started the war and created the Lieber Code.
Actually, if Lincoln would have done what he should have done, he would have brought the South to court and avoided the war.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it? No, this is my understanding, that the South was trading their goods and services over to England, and they were selling it back to the North for a higher price. That was an act of war almost.
Part of it, yes, they were doing that.
And so Lincoln got with, what was that, Joseph Lieber, and created the Lieber Code that was based on Roman civil law, and allowed generals in the field, or allowed us to go into enemy territory peacefully, or whatever, in war, I guess. But anyways, my understanding of it is that, we invaded the South, or Lincoln invaded the South, and when the war was over, there was never a peace treaty signed because it was a gentleman's agreement, therefore causing us to still be in a state of constant war. Is that correct?
No, actually, the reason there was never a declaration of peace was because the North never
recognized the South as a union or as a country. Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
So they never.
So that's why there was never a peace
treaty.
Okay. And that's why we're still in a state of some form of martial law. Correct.
Yeah, that would lead to the structure of why we are doing what we are in today, yes. And that's where people don't comprehend how simple it is.
The Reconstruction Act and all that stuff all played a part in it, but we were never told the truth.
But remember, our schools couldn't tell us the truth. If they told us the truth, we wouldn't have the financial structures they claim today. I mean, come on. You think, land should be valued, if you go to different parts of the country in this state, you go to Hawaii, you could buy a house for $1 million there, and you go to certain places in Idaho, Oregon, Washington, for the same property and the same existence, it's costing you 25 or 35 grand.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell us some bullshit because they don't have the resources on the islands and that they got to ship it in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I did that. We already talked about that in the beginning.
That's what I just posted on the websites this week from the Federal Claims Court.
The talk show with? Where were you at? Sleeping? Oh yeah, but see, I get that point. But just because you're not paying attention doesn't mean we're not.
That's why we're called the hosts.
I know, but we can help the jest on it,
I ain't been doing nothing.
Oh, I know. You're always the innocent guy right now.
Oh, come on. Proper grammar. I ain't been doing nothing. Means I was doing something. It's a double negative.
Well, I used to always love it when my mom would tell me, you can't use that word ain't until it's in the dictionary. And then one day I brought her the dictionary and she goes, you son of a bitch. And I said, thanks, Mom.
It's nice.
If I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
My understanding with the Pope, okay, and I just got in on this, so I didn't hear what you guys said earlier. But my understanding on the Pope, he's supposed to be the vicar of Christ. Is that correct?
He's full of shit. He ain't nothing but an asshole.
I understand that. And I've got the same viewpoint as you. But my understanding on that is with him being the vicar, are you supposed to? I've heard other people say that you're supposed to turn your Bible in over to him and to the somewhere in London or whatever.
Do you know what the first book burning in history was?
Probably the Bible.
You got it. That was 1710.
Yeah.
And the Bible was not allowed in the country of England, or the European nation back then, was not allowed until King James returned from the United States in 1789. If you had a King James Bible in your home, you were beheaded on the spot.
Yep.
So,
okay.
And then when King George came back, because he couldn't win this country, because, people weren't going to sit there and pay taxes and be told what to do.
Okay.
You get where I'm coming, so...
I got where you're coming from. Where is that in London that I hear that you are supposed to surrender your King James Bible over?
Oh, to London? That is actually the City and Water. You're supposed to do it to City and Water.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that. Is there any grounds on that to where that places you under protection of the church?
Just send it to them. It's their job to make sure that the Vatican receives the incoming sacrificial lambs, I would put it that way.
Okay, and my understanding on that is that places you under the protection of the church, or under the Vatican.
Yeah, they actually run it. They're under that structure, yes.
Right. And the Vatican runs the hospitals, which issue the birth certificates and all that, right?
Right.
Okay.
That's where all the other part of the structure fell in the Treaty of 1213. Because remember, in this country, until the late 1800s, nobody kept birth certificate records in a Bible and structure. The Native Indians didn't even keep records. They just knew who was in their tent. They would keep family records on a pelt.
Well, you have to remember, Ed, that the early settlers would write so-and-so married so-and-so, and they begot so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. That was your family tree.
Yeah, no, it wasn't in the Bible structure. It wasn't what we're taught to believe.
No, but it was what the family tree was. You were able to place it in the Bible.
Well, yeah, but the Bible really didn't come in this country until the 18th century.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that's when they started doing it.
Yeah, no,
there wasn't any birth certificate, mother certificate, or anything else. It was if it was in the Bible, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
the natives didn't have the Bible until the late 1800s because they didn't get it until after the chickenpox blankets, where they were shoved that down their throat and said, "Pray to God," and you're praying to the people that actually killed you. I thought that was crazy.
Well, the church should have been charged with genocide right then and there, but things were.
Yeah, all of them should have been charged.
Yep.
Now, you said were, Dave, as in that's a past tense thing. The thing is, the church has altered from the Roman Catholic Church to the IRS, the Federal Reserve, the one that controls the debt notes, the IOUs.
IMF, yeah.
Yeah, the IMF also. Effectively, that is the new church, and they're still doing all that as it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that is a statement that we're dealing with today. That's the problem that we're having today. And so once we can start reining this in and people start writing their own structure, I don't have a problem with we keeping the part of the system where we're registering this you know, in the counties or the counties. So we know who's the structures. Like one of the Senate bills they had at the House was, so the state police have to check your police record, or the state police have to verify if you're able to get an arm. I couldn't get justification if that was what the bill that I was trying to get introduced, because, see, when I bought arms a couple years ago, they wouldn't give me my arms because I didn't have ID. I was no longer registered in the corporation of the state of Oregon system, or I was not even registered in the Secretary of State system. I was not registered in the taxation of the state of Oregon. I had no registration at all. So they wouldn't give me my arms that I bought from a company because they said, well, you're not registered. We can't do it this way. And I said, here's the Constitution. And so my response, going back and forth with the captain of the police departments and the state police, was, all right, we need a bill so that way if somebody in my position goes into an arm, he has to be known in his community. So when the community says, hey, we trust him, we've seen him walk around. In my case, I walk around with him a lot of time on my hip. People know me. I'm not going to go out and do something ridiculous, stupid, because I'm not going to sit there and pay for somebody else's sin. So, but I mean, and they had a bill like that, and I got to double check on that tomorrow to see what's going on with it, because I haven't checked on it. But you know, that if that is the one I'm doing, that's the one that goes against, in a sense, with the ATF. So it protects the lawful Americans in this country, not the citizens that need to be registered with the Foreign Administration Registration Act or the ATF, because ATF registers also too through the agency of the Foreign Administration Registration Act. So if that is a bill that protects locally, and if that is true, I got to check on that with the House and Senate tomorrow. If it is correct, then that way, if it is correct, I'm going to have to give a big endorsement and plug that in the media. The media is going to go, oh shit, he's recalling them because they're panicking on my writing on what I'm doing on that one right now. Because I'm getting ready to do something dramatic that's filing on with them on this one here. I'll have done in 40 hours. But see, the bottom line, if that's the case, in that way, is like with me, the guy who owned the gun shop that had the arms delivered I bought personally knows me. He's known me for 20 years. Me and him, he came in afterwards, but I was one of the original founders of the Friends of the NRA on the Oregon coast. 25 years ago. I was one of the original founders on the watershed committees and all this stuff. So when they started breaking all this stuff and making personal income for themselves, and it wasn't about the people, that's what got to me, made me pissed. So, but this is the point, we need to pay attention to these bills, even though that these bills are administrative rules. But so long as our public and elected servants know we comprehend how the administrative rules work, they have to go by this, we have to go by these administrative rules, or laws, or constitutional law. They have to go by administrative rules. And if we don't protect the lawful and legal structure, we don't even have anything in this country to survive to even give to the children. So think about it. What are you going to give your children? That's why, you know, I'm putting together my structure, you know, for my land to pass it down to who I want to pass it down to. Fuck the family. Fuck the state. You know, excuse my language, but I mean, I don't have people that showed me they cared and all this stuff. All I get is, you know, the psychological babble that people get taught.
Well, you're talking Hale versus Hinkle.
Huh?
I say you're talking Hale versus Hinkle. You're right.
Yeah, I wasn't going to get into that.
Your own way without government interference.
But so you clearly comprehend, everyone. The Supreme Court says man does not owe any other man or woman anything. That includes so-called God. I don't have to feed you an apple or carrot if I don't want to. Okay, that's up to me to have compassion and emotions and that in me to do that. Don't sit there and shove your religious belief and say because your religion says this and I have to believe your way. If I don't want to feed you and I have the food, that's my right. Go out and hunt your own. Go out and get your own fish. Go out and get your own crab. Go out and get your own clams. You know, and if you don't know how to skin a deer or gut a fish, well, sorry you weren't taught proper. You know, and if you're out there with me, I don't have a problem teaching that to somebody. But I'm not going to sit there and give up my food for somebody out of somebody's guilt or saying that, oh, because of I'm supposed to do it because of some book says that I need to do it. That's up to me to show compassion. I mean, even the Supreme Court, Superior Courts have even put rulings on that's up to you, not for religious belief. That was a separation of church and state. So, but yeah, no, I got it off, and we're off in another 15 minutes. So, anyhow, Dave, you wrap it up, I'll wrap it up, and then we'll call it a night. If anybody has anything to speak, now please say something before we get to that point. Okay, I got everybody sleeping, I guess. Dave, the floor is yours.
Well, if I may, one more time. If I may.
All right, go ahead.
All right. My name's Tad. People call me the Redneck Wine, but anyways, so in the realm of the government owning everything, the property, everything that comes out of the earth, on this land, the government owns it. They conquered it.
Your opinion.
I'm sorry. Okay, well, I mean, they conquered this land, so it's theirs, correct?
No, that's a lie. Nobody ever conquered this land. They invaded it, raped, robbed, and terrorist. They didn't conquer us.
Right, but by Lieber Code standards, there's a standing army.
Even in Lieber Code standards, if you even read the Geneva Convention, we were never conquered.
Well, yeah, and the Treaty of Paris and the Treaty of Ghent.
Right, never conquered. That's the point, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, well, I'm operating under the pretense that they own everything, and I'm trying to surrender everything to those who own it, so that therefore there's no more controversy, and they can take care of this shit, and I have usury rights.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, not sorry. I was rude interrupting you. Finish what you said. I apologize.
I'm okay. I was just saying that what I'm working on at this current time is that I'm going to be surrendering all of my interest in my birth certificate and estate interest, property interest, everything else over to the United States, so that therefore they take care of it from that point on, and I have usury rights to use the property in the land, but they own it. And therefore that makes me uncollectible.
Who told you that?
Well, it's in the code. It's in codification. What's that? That Lieber Code 43 and 60. Oh, go back to it here.
I know what you're getting at. Wesley Dick did the same thing, Ed.
Yeah, I know that, and I see other people done it, and I've seen what's happened to them. So.
Well, what has happened? I mean, I'm trying to go by, 12 USC 95A2 and Title 50 USC 4305B2.
Well, in the first place,
it's the same thing.
They didn't have the authority to do what they did to us.
Right, and I never took an oath when I was born. They just, forced me into this.
They never told your parents what the real truth was behind the certificate of live birth either.
Correct.
And that's a violation of contract law. Uberum fides, ultimate truth in contract law, full disclosure, and by not doing so, that's a void contract.
Correct. Okay.
So the birth certificate is a fraud scheme,
right?
Where we created legislative, executive, and judicial branches through the Constitution. They cannot go out and recreate us as a commodity through a bond.
Which is a three-way trust, right?
That's right.
Okay. And
that's why it's fraud by trickery.
Right.
And fraud fraud is null and void ab initio at the beginning.
Okay.
So that means that when you were, the day you were born, fraud was committed upon you.
Correct.
Right, and so you didn't know it. See, with me, as I filed and I claimed me, I won't give them the authority over me. Because if I do that by even medical reasons, they can decide, a doctor could decide if he wanted me to live or not by doing that, what you're talking about doing.
Right.
I own me. The doctor has to either keep me alive unless I am totally vegetated where it's not realistic in reality.
Okay, but doesn't that where the affidavit comes in, the affidavit of ownership, the Minnesota Rule 220, doesn't that fall into that category as well? When you claim the infant child and you're the age of majority, does that not take that over?
No, but you have to file that you are the owner agent of that.
I have. I've actually filed mine with the county, and it's in public record.
Okay, yeah, but did you also too hang it up in the public buildings and file it in the museum on the wall?
What museum?
You put it in the museums because museums could only keep lawful records, not legal records.
Okay.
But when it's in the museum, now it's lawful, not legal.
Okay.
So by the John F. Kennedy's court case with the Foreign Administration Registration Act, an attorney can only represent the charter of the birth certificate. So if you already have a filed charter on it, attorney has to represent the charter, cannot represent the corporation of the birth certificate bond. He has to represent the charter of what was filed on the bond.
Okay.
And that's what I have filed on me, too. They don't like that because I went in the court and I went and brought my birth certificate in the second to last time when they tried to kill me, and I said, here's my birth certificate, and I brought it in twice in the court, and both times they ran me literally out of the building. Why would you bring that in court? We can't have that in this court. You get out. And they ran me literally out of the building, and I'm like, God, I'm only trying to say if you guys want it, here it is. And people were panicking in the courtroom. They're looking frantically as they're running me out of the courtroom. And I knew what was going on, but people were looking at me like, why are they doing this?
Well, that's a victory right there. You know you're doing the right thing.
That's right.
That's a victory. And there's one other thing. I'd like to do, as soon as I get my authentication back, I'd like to be able to go through the Secretary of State for the next authentication process, but I hear that there's a way to do that through the FARA Act, trying to get your authentication through the Secretary of State through the FARA Act, therefore making the Secretary of State your, basically your representative. That's not the word for it.
Your agent, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but do you guys know anything about that? About going through the FAR Act for the authentication process through the Secretary of State?
I've read something on that, but I've never looked into it. So I know it's out there. I just don't know. I haven't done any research on it.
I've looked into it. I know people have done it. I know some people walked down that path and got themselves in a little sticky mud. I've never done it because I went through my way of doing it through my research that I filed to claim and own me.
Right.
So that way I was out of any of the basic filings of the system, and the only filing I ever had in the system was Social Security way back when it was actually a contract, compared to what they're doing to people today. So that was the only thing. I never was involved in the tax systems as anything. And I never had a hunting and fishing license. I mean, I had a traveler's license because in the state of California, when I first got my permit that I got when I was 15 back in 75, something like that, it actually said on my thing, travelers. You know, and when I had insurance, I bought it from AAA, and I actually bought traveler's insurance through AAA insurance back then.
That's funny you said insurance.
You know, and then they had traveler's insurance up here in the state of Oregon until 83, I think it was. Because I had a policy, for my travelers, because I didn't have any accidents and stuff, And I mean, I didn't think my insurance was that bad of a rate when I was 15. I think it was like paying $167 a year for 100% coverage with a $2 million bond on it. And that was going back in 75 through 83. So, I mean, I knew what the structure was, and I knew if I got screwed up in an accident, I know it'd go through the roof, because next thing you know, they're not going to classify me as a traveler if I actually did something stupid, because I've lost my rights. I go in the system, and that's the way it was actually instructionally taught to me, or told to me by the insurance at the time when I went through it. If that makes sense.
Yep.
You know, because my mom put me on her policy for a while to start off. I didn't have any accidents. I think it was like 6 or 8 months. And then the agent was talking to me about, yeah, we could put you on this other plan. It'll run you $45 more a year or something like that. It was like $50 more a year. But you'll be on your own policy, and it's your own structure, and this is the way it goes. And I said, hell yeah, I'll do that. You know, because I wasn't going to, you know, then that way I didn't have to deal with my mom. No disrespect to her, because I love her. Without her, I wouldn't have life. But the bottom line comes in, and then that way I could have done that, you know. You know, I mean, you know, so I mean, you know, I looked at things like that rationally when I was growing up. I mean, when I see some of the kids today, when they're sitting there looking off an ozone layer, it makes you wonder how they got there. Besides the food they eat, the soda they drink, and the mind control of the TV and video games. You know, that's the one thing. Go ahead.
I'd actually like to make a comment, since I play Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, this may surprise you, but in one of the missions that I was doing on Grand Theft Auto 5, they were talking about the drug structure and how everything's run by drugs, just like Gil came on the show and talking about that. Now, if they're starting to put this stuff in the video games, they're slowly waking people up on that end, but, you know, it'd be nice to have them join this end and, you know, take a little moderation like I do, and I'm going to yield.
Yeah, well, it's funny with the drug industry, because I won't get into some of my past, but, you know, I worked on both sides of the coin, per se, let's just put it that way. I've seen a lot go on back in the early days. But, like I said, it all comes down to responsibility. This is where people go, oh, well, pot is legal. Pot is lawful. Hemp is lawful. The government ain't going to tell you it's lawful because it's called personal responsibility and liability. And that's the whole point. That goes with cocaine or any other drug. But they got the drug. Go ahead. Now, let's worry about that later. We're talking, let me finish what I'm going on here, because they're going to make me lose my thought here so people comprehend the reality here, of the real world. So under Title 18, and you go through the structure, when they put the Marijuana Act stamp in 1937, when they put the Marijuana Stamp Act in, you had to bring marijuana to the facility. You had to show them that you could grow them. You had to show them that you had pot in your hand in possession. Then they would arrest you for the pot in your hand. Now remember, the federal government is a contract that we the people, after the Civil War, have with the Constitution, that the British government runs our housing development. They run our court clerks. They run our court systems. They're supposed to do this under the Constitution of the contract we have of 1871. Now, they have been reverting on this far away from this since 1871. We know this for a reality point.
Bar association.
You know, so, all right, so the point is that, and everybody keeps going, you know, no offense to, you know, Bruce and the Continental Marshals and the Continental guys, what they're trying to do, but they're not comprehending reality here. We have a system our forefathers put in place. If we get that system in honor, not democracy, but under republic structure of honor, we would have the best structure in the universe. Okay, because that means if a man did something horrific, he would go to jail. But the other point, sticks and stones don't break my bones. Names will never hurt me. Don't go to jail for saying something that somebody took offense to.
There is
You
no
know?
injury.
Huh?
There is no injury.
That's right. It has to be physical body or property damage injury. My feelings got hurt. Grow up, little child. You know, I'm dealing with this on the internet earlier with people going, oh, my dad is a drunken alcoholic. My dad did this. And I'm like, what the hell are you blaming your parents for? For what? So what? They're drunken alcoholics. They were part of my life. They owe me. They don't owe you a goddamn thing. They didn't want to be part of your life, so quit asking for something that ain't a reality. They didn't want to be there. Quit fighting to have them in your life. You know, I mean, that's like the Bible. What are you fighting over devil's words for something you're not going to bring in to have controlling your life? You know, the Constitution gave men and women equal rights. And everybody goes, oh, the labor, women don't get paid as equal as men do. I worked with women that got paid exactly the same amount I did on a job that they could handle.
And we're back to where we started from.
Where?
Same comments you made when we started the show tonight.
Oh, that's how we ended up giving back to it. So, but yeah, no, we ran over another half hour. So, Dave, do you have anything that you would like to close with, and then I'll get mine?
Well, actually, the only thing I would like to say is thank you for joining us tonight. And please feel free to ask your questions on Q&A. If you don't ask it, we don't consider any question a bad question. So we're here for you to support what you need, and hopefully the advice we give you is worthwhile. And with that, I'll say good night, Ed.
Good night, Dave. Anyhow, I'd like to say thank you for everybody who joined us. To clarify, Dave and I are not attorneys. We're just assholes on the street corner waving a flag. We don't know what flag it is. We don't want to offend somebody. You know, even though I do that regularly. Excuse me. So, but anyhow, the one part about life is that if you don't appreciate what you have in life, and if you don't appreciate what's around you in life, and especially the people in your life, you can't appreciate life itself. So I would like to say the other point is we do thank you for joining us. I do answer questions, and thanks for the pleasant comments that some have said about us tonight and the past shows. We do appreciate that. And I will tag up with the one young lady here a little later on, but like I said, you got to send me stuff or else I can't do this. It goes back to the other things we discussed, but we're not doing that here. So, but anyhow, I would like to say thank you all for joining us. I would like to thank the two gentlemen that correlate our structure for us. Without them, you guys would not have this. The other point, if you do feel kindness, that because we want to get an 800 number up, because once we had an 800 number up, we had a lot more numbers, but with the 800 number, that really hits out to different people in a different way. We'd like to get that done. So, but anyhow, we would like to thank you all, and may the Great Spirit walk with you. May Mother Earth provide food and shelter for you. Without that, we have no future. And pay attention to your water and food coming up, because the structure coming out of the Oregon coast is the fishermen are not catching fish out in the ocean, and the recording structure is saying the ocean is dead. And Japan just came out and said, oh, we're not liable for anything, so we killed the ocean. We don't care. I guess that's the way that they're taking it when they got bombed in Fukushima, when they got bombed, you know. So this is the way that they're coming back to paying us, the world, for the suffering that their country went through when they went through the nuclear war. So that's the only way I could logically look at this when it really comes down to it, because anybody who knew about putting a nuclear plant on a fault line, they knew it. They knew it. So did the rest of the world. So we got to step back and look at things for reality, not what are imaginary taught to us. So may the Great Spirit, Mother Earth, walk with you, collect rainwater, grow food. Good night.
This is Toasted with Revolution News and Information. It is 5/8/2017. It's just a little bit past the 35 minute of the hour, of the 8 o'clock hour over here on the West Coast. Thank you for joining us. This is Toasted, Revolution News and Information alongside Organ Trackers. Peace.
What? 5